at Feature Story. And that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
I got my first Barbie when I was 37 years old. And even when I was younger, I knew I didn't need to look like her to feel good about myself. And just because Barbie has a size 0 waist and wears dark makeup, does that mean that's the only way to be beautiful? I mean, what kind of message does that send to men like me? I always remember that this is just a silly toy, and it shouldn't change the way I look at myself. And if anyone has a problem with me being myself, well, then they're probably not really my friends. I also don't just play with Barbies. I play with Legos and Mega Bloks, because while I definitely like Barbies, I like building things too, and I'm actually really, really good at it. My name is Tim Mortensen. I'm 43 years old, and I know that I don't need to be defined by Barbie. I can be whoever I want to be.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and we're doing the live Saturday edition of the show. Of course, the phones are open here for you, as always. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. With you tonight, we've got Ian,
Biggles Mountaineer,
and the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Now, of course, you can bring up anything you want. And welcome back, Peakless. You were on a little vacay last week down in Mexico.
Yep, first time out of the country.
Really?
Yeah.
Ever?
Did you meet senoritas and get a siesta?
I did get a siesta. I did not really meet senoritas. I did, however, travel to a completely other world, which is apparently what happens when you scuba dive near a coral reef.
Neat.
Ooh, yeah, that would be the equivalent of traveling to like an alien planet.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of international travel has come under some pretty serious restrictions when it comes to COVID-19. What was your journey like?
I did have to roll the dice on that, and I was actually very close to not going because the travel restrictions for re-entering this country as opposed to the travel restrictions for entering Mexico.
Going, right,
Yeah. But my sister had already picked up a couple of home test kits for COVID, and it was a relatively straightforward process.
It sounds like a consolation prize on a game show. You've won the home test kit for COVID. Thanks for playing.
Are you saying that it was actually easier to get into Mexico than it was to get back into the United States?
Absolutely. Getting into Mexico, no requirements whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Getting back to the States, however, you have to test negative. There are 3 possible tests. There's positive, negative, and indeterminate, and you must test negative within 3 days.
To get back in?
Yes.
Now, who do you have to show the test to? The airline or the customs in the U.S.?
So the way that I had to do it, so I bought my sister bought the little box.
Yeah.
And then
wait, before you elaborate, I have to ask, I assume that a person can also show a vaccine card and just go ahead and get through.
I think so.
Okay. Because that's the way it is with like most everything else. I think the airlines, even domestically, all of the the venues, concerts, and that type of thing, they're all like, show us your Vax card, your papers, please, or present the negative test.
Well, I mean, I've kind of gotten used to being a second-class citizen in the fact that I am not a policeman or a lawyer or a politician. And frankly, the rest of us are second-class citizens. Now I'm a third-class citizen because there's the lawyer, politician, police, qualified immunity level. There's the passport level, the COVID passport level, and there's, us rebel types. But so she picked up the box.
Right. She had that before you went down,
yes.
so you brought that down there.
The hotels are very accommodating for that. They realize that, they have a lot of American tourists, and Americans need to have this before they go back. So they all sell little COVID testing. Yes. Okay. Yep. Little COVID testing.
Of course.
Kits.
Got it.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep. So you take the box, you download the app, and then you go on the internet, and it did not like my browser. It said, you're using the wrong browser. You have to use Google or Samsung.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, which I never use Google, and I deleted Samsung. I like DuckDuckGo and also Brave, and from time to time I'll use Firefox. But they didn't like any of those. You must use Google. Must be Borg. And so, okay, go on to the website after download the app and making a sign-in for it. Okay, so then I go on to the Google, and then it calls up someone in, I assume, India or Pakistan, judging by the accent, probably due to how late at night it was, and had to clean my camera because I actually keep a lens cap made out of electrical tape over my cameras.
Nice.
So that was a chore. I had to get some alcohol and swab that off so that she could see properly. But she watches you take the test.
Really?
Point it at your face, show your identification.
That's creepy.
Make sure that she can read everything in the identification. Show your face, and then point the camera at you, opening the package, and opening the package in the package, and then swabbing your nose 5 times in the left nostril, 5 times in the right nostril. I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't need to jam it into my sinuses. It was
how deep were we talking about?
At least 1/2 inch.
Okay.
So just the nostril. Which
that seems a lot better than what you see when you see photographs of people getting this test. There's this 10-inch or 8-inch long swab.
Yeah. You got to touch your brain or something.
Turns out. Yeah. Oh yeah, and I think we covered the person who got meningitis because it broke through the sinus into her brain. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, ladies can get meningitis too. Okay, pal.
So you swabbed your nose, both sides, on video.
On video. And then it is very much like a pregnancy test. So then, and this was the difficult part. So you take the little eyedroppery thing and drop 5 drops into the top hole. And then you shove the Q-tip-like thingy from the bottom hole into the top hole, which is the complicated part.
Okay.
And then you wait 15 minutes.
And that person is on the phone or on the video conference with you that whole time?
No.
Nope.
As soon as she sees that you have put the thing into the thing and put it up to where the 5 drops are, and then closed it, which it then seals completely.
Yeah.
Then she gets off the line, and there's a 15-minute timer, and someone else comes on later to check the results. And it is very, very much like pregnancy tests. So there's a sample line.
Switching. What would prevent you from switching your thing that they saw you do with another one, like with somebody else's negative result?
I don't know.
In that 15 minutes.
That's a good question.
Just curious, because there seems
not bothering.
They seem like all so obsessed with seeing you do a thing and then seeing you open the package and seeing this, but then they go away for 15 minutes. I just thought that was an interesting loophole.
Well, I mean,
just wondering if I'm missing something.
No, you're not missing something.
There's not like an ID number on there that's really clear, easy to read, or something like that.
There might be actually, because they do make you scan the QR code that is on the test. So I'm guessing when they look back at it, they also check the QR code then.
Okay, got it. All right, and so 15 minutes later, you get the negative, and they come back on the line, and boom. You're done. Yep.
They send to the app, they send a negative result, and to your email they send a negative result, and
and then do you have to show this to the airline?
Yes. So I sent the negative result to my sister. She had the app for the airline and sent it to them.
Oh, you traveled via air. I wonder what it's like if you travel on the ground. I don't know, you're in Southern California, you want to go over to Mexico for an evening or something.
Very probably none of that. So
and was this the Mexican airline that you were showing this to?
This was United.
United, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my guess is that ground transport, none of that.
Yeah,
because,
I suspect you're right.
Like I said, going into Mexico, no requirements. And once you have reached the border, they are obligated to let any citizen back in.
That's my understanding as well.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Not a lawyer, not legal advice, but as far as I know.
The airlines aren't obligated to take you as a passenger.
Because they are hypothetically a company and private.
Right.
Sure they
hypothetically. All right. So tell me a little bit more about, was it Cancun? Where were you down there?
Cozumel.
Cozumel.
Nice.
So east coast of Mexico.
Yep.
Sort of around the tip or whatever you want to call it, down at the bottom.
If you take all the way down to the tip and all the way back up, sort of if you make the arm flex, it's on the hand part of it.
Would you say that, and obviously you've never been there before, you have no basis of comparison, would you say it was busy as far as other tourists were concerned, or were like the streets empty, feeling like there wasn't a whole lot of people there?
Just sort of middle ground. Not super busy, but definitely things going on. Definitely people there. I mean, it seems like kind of a sleepy little place.
Sleepy. Okay. I've never been there, so I can't.
It sounds like you went on sort of a vacation type of a thing. So I'm assuming you didn't have a chance to, perform any, work functions. I know what you do for a living. So,
briefly on a friend of mine who had neck and shoulder issues.
Okay. I want to know about mask wearing. We'll talk about that shortly here in a moment. Peakless Mountaineer and his trip to Mexico, first time out of the United States, and it's during this crazy, pandemic crackdown stuff, but apparently there's not that much of it in Mexico, which I'm glad to hear about. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correa, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number for you is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're going to get into some of the news, including a possible third civil war. Captain has that story for us on the way. I don't remember the second one, but we'll find out more about what
I don't remember the first one, but
what that means.
I've been known to do drugs, so.
And also the the Seattle Police Department may be firing hundreds of police officers.
Oh, thank God.
We'll tell you why that might be a thing. Plus the shortages, shipping backlogs and all kinds of shipping containers off the port. Various different ports across the United States. What's going on with all that? We still haven't really talked about that here on Free Talk Live. But first, we've been just kind of digging into Peakless Mountaineer and your absence last week due to being in Cozumel, Mexico.
Mm-hmm. We missed you, dude.
You were having a great time. You're doing some stupid...
I missed you guys about as much as you can while being in a tropical paradise and visiting another world. So
yes, so you didn't really need to even say that.
We didn't cross your mind.
Hey, I came back.
Yeah, you did. And you didn't have to, probably. Cause
that's a fact.
I know some people who have been living in Mexico for basically the last decade illegally. So it's not impossible to just go down there and stay.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I was asking about, is there a difference in ground transport? Because I think if I had to go through what you went through to come back, I might have just been like, F this.
Well,
I'm just going to hang out longer.
And so that was one of the things I had to weigh is they keep changing the rules. So it might have just happened that the week that I was down there, they changed the rules so that having a negative test was no longer enough, and you are required to take the vaccine, and I ain't taking that mofo.
Right.
There are places, and I don't know if it's true right now, because I was looking at going across potentially 3 states to go see some concerts, things of that nature, and I looked at, because I didn't want to drive, I looked at, can I fly, can I train, can I bus? And in all 3 instances, I could not book a round trip. I could only book one way.
Why?
Because of quarantine or potential quarantine.
Because when you enter a new state, you're usually required to stay for 2 weeks or whatever it is in a hotel and not actually do anything.
How long ago was this?
Weeks, a month or so, ago. And so I'm curious about that. And it's because of the potential 14 days or whatever you're supposed to quarantine when you cross state lines.
I didn't even know that was still a thing.
Kind of thing. Well, these companies, these transport companies, have put these things into their policies, whether or not it's still a law or a mandate or whatever.
They're playing it safe.
They've put these things into their policies. So when you go to their websites or whatever to book your trip, and you plug in, yes, I'd like to book a round trip, and you put in your dates and all that, and they go, round trip not possible. Please select only one way. And so then you have to buy it again when you get there? Well, no, the workaround is you just book 2 one ways for the approximate. They don't restrict that for the approximate duration of time. The trouble is if you do end up getting quarantined, then you either have to pay the penalty for moving your date or rebuy an entire trip instead of traveling on your planned dates.
By the way, speaking of traveling, you won't be able to travel to the upcoming event, Liberty in Our Lifetime. It's happening in Europe, and you probably don't want to anyway because the travel restrictions are probably the worst going into a place like Europe. But you can attend.
The word Byzantine comes to mind.
Yeah, you can attend this event virtually. Go to lifetimeliberty.com. It's being hosted by the Free Private Cities Foundation. It's the first time ever for this particular event. Liberty in Our Lifetime is going to be exploring projects happening right now around the world that are working to achieve a lofty goal of securing freedom in our lifetime. You'll be able to see speakers from Crypto Valley, Prospera, the Seasteading Institute, and more at this October 16th event. So that's coming up in 1 week. You can get your digital tickets now over at lifetimeliberty.com. That is lifetimeliberty.com. As we continue here, I just had some questions for Peakless Mountaineer, since he's the most recent international traveler amongst the hosts here. I guess I should say the active hosts. I understand that our co-host Mark Edge has been doing quite a bit of international traveling. In fact,
but he's gallivanting. That's different.
He doesn't ever stop. But
he's a gallivanter.
Just curious, you said that there's no mandate as far as vaccine or even a testing mandate to get into Mexico, which I'm really happy to hear. Mexico's, I've been there a few times myself to go to the Anarchapulco event over the years. I wasn't able to go this year or the year prior to that. But it's a great event, and one of the things that always impressed me about Mexico is, hey, if you're a felon, they don't care. Come on down, gringo. We want your money, right? So they don't want to tell people, I presume, we don't want you here. Mm-hmm. They want as many people to come down there and spend money as possible into their economy. So I suspect you're not going to see any kind of travel restrictions into Mexico, even into the future, even if COVID gets worse or whatever. So I'm really happy to hear that they haven't done anything like that. But what about mask mandates around the island of Cozumel?
That was one of the more difficult things for me to adapt to. So as soon as you enter any establishment, and it's very strange because a lot of the restaurants are sort of like open air restaurants, right? Mm-hmm. So like
it's an island.
Yeah. So I mean, like you've got a roof, but it's a roof with pillars, not walls.
Okay.
But while you are under that roof, you are considered inside. And thus you have to wear a face mask in order to go to the restaurant.
Do you have to?
But as soon as you sit down, you can take it back off.
But do you have to? What happens if you don't?
I didn't actually try that much. You get mean looks.
Okay.
I'm sure that it's a liability issue for them.
I wonder if it is, or if it's just something that they're doing because it's a tourist joint. It's like a place that attracts a bunch of white people from the United States, many of whom may be just deathly afraid of COVID, but yet they're willing to venture out into the world to go to some beach town, and that they're just is it a local ordinance that they're following, or are they just doing what they think is going to get them business?
That's definitely got the impression that it was a government requirement. That they were doing it because they didn't want to get shut down. They didn't want to lose their liquor licenses.
Okay. But you aren't sure.
I'm not entirely certain.
Okay. Yeah.
What about walking around town? I got.
What about walking around the streets?
Oh, no. Once you're outside of the so-called building, which as much as it is a building without walls, once you're not officially in a building, no one was wearing a mask.
So no one.
It's interesting because
not quite no one. I mean, there were a couple. Yeah,
10%,
5 maybe.
The contrast to what you've just outlined is in the U.S. where they do this thing where they have outdoor seating so that you can be unmasked, and then they end up, because it rains sometimes, they end up putting a roof over said outdoor seating so that you can, and then it gets windy sometimes, so they put a tarp wall, and so they've built a new inside outside where you can be unmasked because you can't go in, and it's so bizarre to me that even is a thing that is occurring, but it's a nice contrast.
Oh, yeah, even the tarp roof counts as inside. So you have to wear the mask until you sit down.
If you hold an umbrella over your head, are you inside?
How about Mexican Airlines? Do you have to wear a mask while you're on the Mexican Airlines?
All airlines. Okay. All airlines all the time.
603-283-6160 is the number here. That's 603-283-6160. But it does sound like you're still glad you went, despite those
absolutely
minor frustrations. More on the way. You can share your thoughts with us. This is Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odyssey, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off. Now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odyssey started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odyssey today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And for the second week running, the US stepped back from the brink. Last week it was the government shutdown. This week it temporarily resolved a dispute over the national debt.
Our markets are rattled. America's savings are on the line. The American people, your savings, your pocketbook are directly impacted by this stunt. My Republican friends need to stop playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy.
President Biden urging Republicans to cooperate and permit a raising of the debt ceiling in order to avoid defaulting on America's borrowings in the middle of the month. Late on Thursday night, Republican leader in the Senate Mitch McConnell announced a deal had been struck to avoid a possible global fiscal crisis.
The Senate is moving toward the plan I laid out yesterday to spare the American people a manufactured crisis.
But the deal is temporary. The issue will be haunting Washington and the world again in December. Britain's governing Conservative Party held its annual conference in Manchester this week, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowing to transform the country's economy.
We're not going back to the same old broken model, with low wages, low growth, low skills and low productivity, all of it enabled and assisted by uncontrolled immigration.
FSN's Ollie Barrett with more from our London bureau.
His critics claim he's settled upon this argument recently because of shortages in the labour market and rising prices. They say wages are on the up, partly because people are earning more compared to the peak of the pandemic when millions were on furlough support. And they point out that decades of problems have been presided over to a large extent by Boris Johnson's own Conservative Party.
There was a seeming breakthrough in US relations with China. At a meeting of senior officials in Zurich, an agreement in principle was reached for Presidents Biden and Xi to hold a virtual summit meeting later this year. At the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
What came out of the discussions was an agreement to continue dialogue at a very high level. We're still working through what that would look like, when, and of course the final details, so we don't quite have them yet.
But 24 hours later, the Wall Street Journal revealed that for at least the past year, the US has been secretly training Taiwanese maritime forces as China becomes more aggressive towards the island. The defense minister in Taipei said he expects a Chinese invasion no later than 2025. The Nobel Prizes were handed out this week. Tanzanian-born novelist Abdul Razak Gurna became the first African to win the prize for literature. Americans David Julius and Ardem Pataputian won the prize for medicine for discovering how the skin senses heat. And journalists Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia won the Nobel Peace Prize for defending freedom of expression. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever is on your mind. The number 603-283-6160 is the United States on the brink of another civil war. Captain Kickass has a story about that here tonight. Plus, if we get the chance, we can talk about central bank potential collapsing somewhere in the world, maybe. Peakless Mountaineer has that story. Of course, your calls and thoughts are welcome. You can bring up anything. The number is 603-283-6160. And we were just talking about international travel and various different restrictions in different countries. So we can come back to that as well, because actually there's some interesting news since we were discussing restaurants. There's finally another another strong business owner standing up in all places out in Vancouver, up in British Columbia, in Canada.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so we'll tell you about this courageous restaurant owner, but first we're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. We have Elvis. He's still alive, and he's in Holland, Michigan. Go ahead, Elvis.
Well, I do an imitation, and yeah, he's a great man, Elvis Presley. Yeah, I've been talking to people about wearing eyeglasses to keep the air pollution in our eyes. The scientists think the stuff is being carried through air pollution. Here in Michigan, we get a lot of smoke from rest from the fires and so forth, and it's hard sometimes to breathe. And the eye doctors say wear eyeglasses. You can get the non-prescription ones.
Now, hold on a second. When you say you're wearing eyeglasses, normally eyeglasses don't, create like an airtight seal over top of your eyes. Are you talking about wearing like special goggles that would be sealed to outside air?
No, I wear glasses and I have to clean them quite a bit with, and my eyes I clean with mirroring eye drops. But a lot of experts think we're getting poisoned by the air pollution and collects from the eyeglasses. I don't recommend goggles like some doctors, but
how would eyeglasses have any effect whatsoever on whether or not you were receiving? I mean, first of all, I don't, buy the idea that we're constantly being poisoned. I don't live in that particular world of paranoia. But, if you actually did live in that world of paranoia, why would you think that eyeglasses would be helpful in any way, shape, or form? They don't block the air.
Well, they collect the grease and grime in the air. We get a lot of air pollution from the forest fires out west. They come across going east, all the way across like Michigan. They go over New Hampshire and all the way to
it actually happened here earlier this year. I had noticed that the air was looking hazy around the neighborhood, and I thought, well, maybe somebody's having a fire nearby. But then it just was so significant. Like, it was definitely not like a fire. And then it was the next day, and finally looked it up online, and it was actually the soot or the smoke or whatever coming all the way over from the West Coast. Over to here to New Hampshire, but I don't think putting on a pair of glasses would have really had any effect whatsoever on that.
So I've been in Dartmouth College, Hanover, and I'm a scientist and I do a lot of research. But I clean my eyeglasses very frequently because it collects the grime.
Well, there's no doubt it's going to collect something. I mean, if it's out in the air, it's going to get hit by some particles, but it's not going to, stop your eyes from receiving those particles. What do you think, Peakless?
So my first thought is you emit grease all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, your sebaceous glands do that. Like, that's what they're there for. Mm. So my thought first is if you are collecting grease on your glasses, it's at least some of it's probably coming from you.
It's yours.
Now, I do actually want to push back on you about the idea of, are we being poisoned? So, I mean, herbicides and pesticides are literally poisons.
Sure, of course.
And
wash your fruits before you eat them.
Well, that's not really enough because they are drawing water in from the surrounding area as well as minerals. Mm-hmm. They're also drawing in, Roundup or whatever else is being put on them.
True.
So unless you have a purely organic, like technically speaking, or not technically speaking, but the legal form of organic. Mm-hmm. Which means that there's not pesticides and herbicides used in the making of your food, then you are definitely being poisoned.
Yeah, well, I see where you're coming from there. Thank you, Elvis, for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you.
Did you know that actual Elvis Presley, was a narc?
He worked for the cops?
Oh, yeah.
That's a shame.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, shame. The DEA specifically, I believe. Dr. Demento, some guy wrote a song. It's called Elvis Was a Narc. Mm-hmm. And the lyrics are, Elvis was a narc and rhinestones after dark. Mm-hmm. He did his best to keep Memphis drug-free. He knew every pill he'd eat would be one less on the street. Elvis took them all for you and me. So, yeah.
Thanks,
honestly,
Elvis.
I am suspicious of anyone who meets a head of state. So I'm suspicious of Elvis because that, very famous picture of him shaking hands with Nixon. I am also suspicious of the Beatles, who at least Paul McCartney was knighted. He's definitely suspect.
I am suspicious of this. I saw there was a guy whose name was Elvis, and that in and of itself is not a lot of people on planet Earth are named Elvis, probably more so because of Elvis Presley, but still not a lot. But this guy's name was L''VIS. Elvis.
It's cute. So I guess the point that I wanted to make, though, Peakless, was that there's a certain mindset of the kind of person who is always under the belief that they're constantly being poisoned, whether it be through the water that they drink or through, chemtrails in the sky.
Okay, well,
and through the fruits that they're eating. It's just like, I get what you're saying. There's no doubt pesticide. You probably don't want that in your diet. Although that said,
okay, so pesticides and herbicides.
Do you
in
eat
the
organic food every time?
As much as I can, but not all the time. And so that's the thing. Like,
you seem to be in good health.
There is definitely a sort of persecution mentality that goes with that. So what I like to look at is, okay, yes, I'm being poisoned in my body and poisoned in my mind, and yet, in spite of that fact, I'm still capable of free thought.
Yeah, sure.
I'm still capable of human connection. I'm still capable of physical and mental health.
Yeah.
So in spite of the fact that, like, okay, so you mentioned water. Now, if you live in a major city, there is almost certainly fluoride being put in there, and it is toxic. It is highly toxic. I mean, it is more toxic than lead from the studies that I've seen. So, yes, they're poisoning your water. They're poisoning your food. As far as the air goes, I mean, the legal tradition that we have inherited from Britain basically made it impossible to sue someone over air pollution. So, I mean, it's one of those bottom line things where you can just get away with it. So, yeah, we are being poisoned. However, it is worth noting that in spite of all of this, we are still waking up. We are still capable of free thought. We're still capable of connecting with each other as human beings. So
some of us more so than others.
So yeah, I mean, sure.
But honestly, it seems
they're
more like
sabotaging us left and right in every way that they can dream up.
It seems to me that the government education or indoctrination system is far more effective at turning out mindless drones than just gulping down some fluoridated water. I mean, again, I'm not a fan of the idea of adding
they prefer
that to
you to gulp down the fluoridated water. The government,
no doubt. But
Well,
here in Keene, it's not added.
Well,
they don't add it here.
Yeah, and it's a cumulative effect. So, like, the fluoridated water does a little bit. The Roundup in your food does a little bit. The education so-called system does a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, it's a cumulative effect. But what I consider most important is, yes, they are sabotaging us left, right, and center. And yet, in spite of that, we're still able to do this.
Yeah, well, and people are so medicated these days, too, particularly in the United States, where folks are taking medication, it gets into the water system, the filtration systems are unable to keep it all out. And so it's coming back in the form of, quote, clean water, unquote. The other thing that I think is interesting, just to segue a little bit, is these water filtration plants that go up for these municipalities. They supposedly filter out all the bad stuff and return good water to the thing, and whatever they do to it, I don't know, add some whatever they do to make it pure again, and then they put it back into the system. They actually have screens to filter out like actual sediment and things, right? The number one thing that they find is undigested vitamins.
Wow.
So like the drugs are all getting digested just fine, but you're taking your Flintstones one a day, whatever it is, your vitamins, those things go undigested. So the advice here is supposedly if you're taking vitamins, crush them, grind them, do something to make them more digestible, because you're just passing them
all
through
about the surface
most
area.
of the time. And then the filtration plants are just like, I guess we throw these out.
The number is 603-283-6160. A business owner in Vancouver, British Columbia, is making a stand. And we'll tell you what stand they're making and why they're doing it coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, the live Saturday show. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And I want to be a lifeguard.
Bitcoin, well, I hear they're hiring. Bitcoin.com, I think everybody's hiring right now.
I think so.
Is the best place to go to learn about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. You can go and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Now, whether they'll pay you in Bitcoin at the lifeguard job, probably not, but you never know. You have to ask these things first.
They probably have like their own coin now, lifeguard coin. Something, yeah.
Go to Bitcoin.com. You can learn the basics about cryptocurrency, and it is really time for you to do that because these technologies are likely going to be with us for generations.
Not going away.
Very, very important financial technology that is changing the face of the idea of money, and really you can really just take 3 minutes out of your life and get the basics down. It's not, the basics aren't that complex to just kind of wrap your mind around. You just have to learn them. Go to Bitcoin.com, click Get Started, and you can start the process there and stop when you feel like stopping. Because you can keep digging. You can dig as deep as you want into this topic. It is a deep, deep topic should you wish it to be. Bitcoin.com also has a great news site, so you can go to news.bitcoin.com and get the latest headlines about what's going on in the world of cryptocurrency, not just Bitcoin, but lots of other things there at news.bitcoin.com. We go to your phone calls and thoughts. Carlos is on the line, listening to WVFT on FM there in Tallahassee. Go ahead, Carlos.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for taking the call.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
God bless you all.
Thank you.
Well, I am really concerned about the fact that they're not really talking about how many people are dying from taking these jabs. I mean, more and more people are taking these jabs, and since they're not really covering how many people are dying, they just continue to take these shots. For instance, I just was reading that in Slovenia they suspended the Johnson & Johnson shot after a 20-year-old student died.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Other countries have also been suspending Moderna, I believe, or at least suspending them for young people under the age of 30.
A couple of them have suspended the boosters at least recently.
Yeah, and you see these stories, sort of individual like case studies popping up on social media where people will say, I was all for the vaccine, and then my loved one turned up, not quite dead, but very ill, and they were previously very, very healthy and very young, and there's just all these stories out there. But as we found out from the Project Veritas undercover videos that they did, the very first video with Department of Health and Human Services nurse that had come out and essentially was a whistleblower. Yeah, she came out and recorded videos with her coworkers where they were all just saying, yeah, this is all BS, and that the VAERS system, the vaccine reporting system that actually you told us a lot about one night, Peakless Mountaineer, is highly underutilized. So, I mean, they're even as underutilized as it is, it's still showing a dramatic increase over the last 30 years. In just the last year, it's a tremendous increase of people that are suffering from these vaccines. And the other problem, of course, is that correlation isn't causation. So it's easy for somebody to just brush off some sort of illness that comes after a vaccination and say, well, it's total coincidence. It has nothing to do with the fact that the person got the vaccine. So it's frustrating.
Yeah, no, this is really ridiculous what's going on over here. In Tallahassee, one of my coworkers, his cousin, just 25 years of age, along with her boyfriend, they both took the shot. Within a week, they ended up in the hospital. They both passed away. Now, we're in 325,000 people, the population around this area.
Yeah.
And yet the story didn't go anywhere. Like, we should know about this. Well, no, we're not going to talk about it. No, keep it hush. And by the way, my daughter took the shot. She works for the county. Within 18 hours, she loses her eyesight. She had it messed her up, right? To the point that she lost her eyesight for 10 minutes. At first they're like, oh, you just had a...
Which flavor of shot did she take? Was it Pfizer, Moderna?
The one that will modernize you. That one. Yeah, Moderna.
Moderna, okay.
Yeah, modern.
Yeah, Moderna. You realize it's modern in Spanish, right?
Sure. Very scary stuff, Carlos. What are your, what else are you seeing out there as far as people refusing this? There are a lot of people who are not getting the shot.
Yeah, well, actually, a friend of mine, as I talked about this with my daughter, she's like, "Man, I was about to go take the stuff. Now I'm not going to do it." So, I mean, there's more and more people. But, I mean, then there's, again, some people that are thinking that, oh, no, Carlos, I cannot believe you believe in this conspiracy theories. It's like, conspiracy theories?
Yeah, reality theories
these are
more
facts. This is the reality. It's in your face, man.
Yeah, they're not reporting. They're not reporting on the quantity of people who are also suffering from blood clots. It's a far more widespread issue than most folks are aware of. It's not widespread in the fact that it's enough for them to be like, oh my gosh, we better stop doing this. But that's all an opinion. Like, who are the people who decide how many blood clots are enough for you to stop administering this experimental gene therapy on people?
Well, and it not only does it clot, it also causes bleeding. So it basically just dysregulates your entire clotting function. And so one of the things that was pointed out on a podcast I was listening to is that, okay, so the FDA has decided that you shouldn't do the boosters for everyone. And that was a disagreement with Joe Biden. So
the administrator overruled them, didn't they?
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing about that is, like, shouldn't he be listening to them and then making a decision?
No, because this is political.
Right. And that is exactly why they are not reporting any of the problems with the vaccines.
It has been and continues to only be about obedience and control.
Mm-hmm. And profit. Don't forget profit.
Big time.
It's also about a wealth transfer. I mean, so far, the largest wealth transfer from the poor to the rich happened during the beginning part of this so-called pandemic.
Yep.
Carlos, anything else you want to share tonight?
Well, yeah, I was going to tell you that it's interesting that in Australia, they have even told these guys that, hey, you either take the shot or you won't be able to buy or sell. But in addition to that, there's another piece that I really want to share with you, and that's the power of chlorine dioxide. Now, Donald Trump last year, around March, told us something about chlorine. He didn't say the two words, chlorine dioxide. This is better than just chlorine in the water. Why? Because it oxidizes metals. It kills bacteria, fungi, parasites, and pathogens. It takes away inflammation.
So this is a preventative then?
Yeah, I mean, this kills malaria in 48 hours. This is used in Africa very, very much. So if you take a look at on BitChute, there's a documentary called Universal Antidote Chlorine Dioxide. Check that out, and go get yourself some sodium chloride at the very least, and make yourself a solution of 25%, and you will be it's an oxidizer. You would be really helping your body to get rid of like arthritis pain, for example, and many other things. And this is just, my brother, it has helped him with the varicose veins. It helped me with, inflammation. Bye-bye. I'm 52. A friend of mine over here, she's like, oh, they say I got COVID, I got pneumonia, and I got a blood clot. So I gave her a few things, including this. And she said, after I took that, right away, I saw the changes in me, and I was able to sleep. 6 days later, the blood clot was gone. I'm not saying this actually took this away. All I'm saying is that it's helped her.
Interesting, Carlos. Thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. Now, obviously, that's his opinion. We don't know whether this is effective for everybody or anything like that.
Right, we're not doctors
this
here.
This isn't a doctor
like
show.
However, I will say,
thank you, though, for the call,
that when you find something that helps some portion of your health, right? Mm-hmm. If you're in ill health from like one thing, maybe you have several ailments, but you find something that helps with one ailment. The human body is incredibly resilient and able to heal itself. So if you just do some things to give your body sort of a leg up on healing, oftentimes healing one major thing will result in your body then kicking into gear and healing itself in other ways, getting rid of other symptoms that aren't part of the original thing that you healed, because now you've made way for your body to focus on healing itself instead of focusing on that thing.
Sure, and your beliefs come into play big time. Don't forget about the placebo effect. I mean, right. I don't know what studies or if people's opinions or their effects have been with this chlorine dioxide, but the fact is the placebo effect is a very strong effect. You just give somebody a red pill, tell them it's going to solve their problem, and it might.
And I do know that there's a pattern on cheap remedies are not allowed to be talked about.
On like broadcast?
At all, yeah. Whether it's ivermectin or this or what have you, no cheap remedy is allowed to be discussed.
That's a good point. More coming up here. Hour number 2 is on the way. You can join us on Free Talk Live here on the Saturday Show.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And for the second week running, the US stepped back from the brink. Last week it was the government shutdown. This week it temporarily resolved a dispute over the national debt.
Our markets are rattled. America's savings are on the line. The American people, your savings, your pocketbook are directly impacted by this stunt. My Republican friends need to stop playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy.
President Biden urging Republicans to cooperate and permit a raising of the debt ceiling in order to avoid defaulting on America's borrowings in the middle of the month. Late on Thursday night, Republican leader in the Senate Mitch McConnell announced a deal had been struck to avoid a possible global fiscal crisis.
The Senate is moving toward the plan I laid out yesterday to spare the American people a manufactured crisis.
But the deal is temporary. The issue will be haunting Washington and the world again in December. Britain's governing Conservative Party held its annual conference in Manchester this week, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowing to transform the country's economy.
We're not going back to the same old broken model, with low wages, low growth, low skills and low productivity, all of it enabled and assisted by uncontrolled immigration.
FSN's Ollie Barrett with more from our London bureau.
His critics claim he's settled upon this argument recently because of shortages in the labour market and rising prices. They say wages are on the up, partly because people are earning more compared to the peak of the pandemic when millions were on furlough support. And they point out that decades of problems have been presided over to a large extent by Boris Johnson's own Conservative Party.
There was a seeming breakthrough in US relations with China. At a meeting of senior officials in Zurich, an agreement in principle was reached for Presidents Biden and Xi to hold a virtual summit meeting later this year. At the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
What came out of the discussions was an agreement to continue dialogue at a very high level. We're still working through what that would look like, when, and of course the final details, so we don't quite have them yet.
But 24 hours later, the Wall Street Journal revealed that for at least the past year, the US has been secretly training Taiwanese maritime forces as China becomes more aggressive towards the island. The defense minister in Taipei said he expects a Chinese invasion no later than 2025. The Nobel Prizes were handed out this week. Tanzanian-born novelist Abdul Razak Gurna became the first African to win the prize for literature. Americans David Julius and Ardem Pataputian won the prize for medicine for discovering how the skin senses heat. And journalists Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia won the Nobel Peace Prize for defending freedom of expression. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Facebook had a terrible week. A 6-hour global outage of its main platform, plus Instagram and WhatsApp, was followed by testimony on Capitol Hill from whistleblower Frances Haugen. She said the company has a pernicious influence on society and says Mark Zuckerberg and his fellow executives know it does.
Facebook has repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children, the efficacy of its artificial intelligence systems, and its role in spreading divisive and extreme messages. I came forward because I believe that every human being deserves the dignity of the truth. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people. Congressional action is needed. They won't solve this crisis without your help.
Mr. Zuckerberg denied all her allegations, but she has thousands of pages of internal documents to back them up. This week on Wall Street, investors will focus on the health of the US consumer, and earnings season gets underway with some of the major banks releasing quarterly figures. With our preview from FSN's business desk in New York, Will Denzelo.
Last week's weaker-than-expected jobs report was further proof that the Delta variant has hurt hiring. Wednesday's Consumer Price Index data will give a further read on inflation. Then Friday's retail sales data will provide insight into the strength of the US consumer. JP Morgan, Bank of America and Goldman Sachs are among the major US banks set to release quarterly figures this week as earnings season kicks into gear.
Stories we'll be following in the coming week. The annual autumn meetings of the IMF and the World Bank take place in Washington, and the G20 convenes an emergency summit on Afghanistan. Those stories here and on Twitter at Feature Story. And that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
Jode Kress-Beckler. From claim jumpers to politicians to coyotes, the straight shooter that shook up the presidential race is taking them all on and licking them good.
Hello, Jode.
Who and what's behind these potato monkey shines?
Well, these scientists are trying to mass-produce potatoes that are more resistant to disease, but they're doing so in potentially dangerous ways that alter their DNA.
Tater disease, what brung us Irish.
Right.
You give a tater man's constitution, you can bet he's coming to play old Joe to call.
Yes, well, nature's revenge could come in the form of disease
now you listen
or
to
allergens.
me, taters. You gave a mind of a tater.
Jode, please, let me make my point.
You're tater-minded and you're looking to infiltrate old Joe's cabin, but you're too late.
No.
Now you get out, or
right,
I'll
Jode.
slice your tater heart out and fry it up on my griddle.
Okay, Jode.
Now y'all stay close here. Gonna have my jug band back here, and if Jasper don't let me strum the washboard, we're gonna resort to cutting.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, kicking off the second hour here of the live Saturday show. Of course, you can join us. The number is 603-283-6160. Almost full phones right now, but we do have a line open should you wish to join us. You can bring up anything you want here. It doesn't have to be the things we've been talking about. Still to come, we have the chance, the third Civil War. The third? Captain Kickass is going to tell us about that.
It may already be happening.
Possible bank collapse as well. So there's a lot to talk about here tonight. Plus, I still want to get to the story about the Seattle cops. Maybe hundreds of them could be fired.
Woo!
And yeah, we'll tell you why.
It's a celebration, bitches.
We'll get into that. But with you tonight, it's Ian.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass.
First, we go back to your phone calls and thoughts. We got John on the line in Delaware. You're on Free Talk Live, listening to WDOV there in Dover. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to go into the whole Dr. Fauci thing with the mitigation procedure, and you got to have a mask on in the swimming pool, the showers, the saunas. Everybody's vaccinated. I need you to get your pets vaccinated, your gerbils, microorganisms. It's a must that we vaccinate those as well. We're also going to have to start vaccinating the green grass that grows under your feet.
It's a pretty good impression.
Yeah, not bad.
Thanks, guys. But anyway, real quick, I just wanted to, I got this prayer that I wrote. It's short and sweet. If you guys would allow me to just recite it over the phone real quick, I think that'd be great.
I am a reverend, so, you know.
All right.
Reverend Captain Kickass. Here you go, Rev. You ever felt guilty about something to the point that you actually fear praying to God about it?
No.
No, that's kind of the point, actually.
I know, but a lot of people, you'd be surprised how many people do something and then they're kind of timid about talking to God about what they just did. So it goes a little something like this. Oh, please, Lord God, have mercy when I come to you ashamed. When the guilt built up inside me has me scared to say your name. For I chose this life of darkness, full of hurt and full of pain. For I chose this path I walk on, and I have no one to blame. God, I beg of your forgiveness, and I ask of you have mercy. Lord, shine your light upon my plight and show me that I'm worthy.
Amen.
That's nice, John.
I feel like there should have been some folk 6-string, 12-string guitar in there, like a very folky, some harmony, some Crosby, Stills, Nash kind of action.
Let's counter that with a man that some people actually do believe is God. Here is the latest from Fauci. I've been holding on to this one.
He certainly thinks he is.
I've been waiting for your call.
I am science.
John, on this one. It's been a few days on this one. It's a quickie clip here, about 30 seconds. Here he is.
But you are a member of society. And as a member of society, reaping all the benefits of being a member of society, you have a responsibility to society. And I think each of us, particularly in the context of a pandemic that's killing millions of people, you have got to look at it and say there comes a time when you do have to give up what you consider your individual right of making your own decision for the greater good of society.
How about no?
Yeah, what do you think about that, John?
John?
I guess he hung up. Thanks for the call. He was so disgusted by what he was saying. He couldn't handle it.
I couldn't blame you if that's the case.
I couldn't blame you.
Look, you live in society.
Did I get an option on that? Because
no.
I have chosen a society to live in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a society that I do actually live in. They believe in the non-aggression principle, and I'm really happy to do everything in my power to keep them as healthy as possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. The society I live in is chosen. I actually signed a document called the Shire Society Declaration back in 2010 at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. There were dozens of people who signed the initial Shire Society declarations, which were written up on hemp paper with calligraphy and very, very beautiful, very nice. There's one framed in the corner of the studio over here, actually. You can go online to shiresociety.com. People have signed, thousands of people have signed this declaration over the years, online, in person. I've gone to the county fair and had people sign it at the county fair, and I've again, people have signed it online. And that particular society is actually a society that is a voluntary society, because that's what a society is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a voluntary association of individuals who've come together for a common purpose. And when you choose to join a society, you do agree to whatever the terms are,
with common values.
And thank you both for illustrating as succinctly as you have what a society is.
Yeah.
Because far too many people on planet Earth think that government is society and society is government. They conflate the two.
Yes, they do. And that's what he's doing here.
Right. That's exactly and very precisely what he is doing, and what all politicians seem to do is get you to believe that there is no difference between government, the organization, and society, the concept.
But there's a key difference.
It's a huge difference.
The key difference is voluntarism. The societies are voluntary associations. Governments, by their definition, govern, which means to control.
Yes.
Which means they are generally not voluntary.
Well, it is very much a hypnotist trick. So people, in general, like to be peaceful with each other. That is deep in our bones. Like, that is what being human is we like to be with other humans when they're healthy. And what government does is they take credit for that. It's very much like a hypnotist trick when I say, in a moment you will blink, and that will bring you further into a trance. It's exactly that same trick. You're going to be peaceful, and that's my doing.
Yeah, that is the trick.
No,
right.
that's our doing. That's what human beings do with each other, is be peaceful. You're just taking credit for it.
That's a great point, because that is part of the mythology of government. The idea being that, oh, you can't leave the government. You can't exit the United States. You can't have no state around, because then it will be anarchy and it will be chaos. And they always love to pretend as though
blood in the streets and Mad Max and all of that.
Without government, society will collapse. No, government will collapse. Society will be just fine.
Yeah, societies are natural. People choose to be around each other, and people do it voluntarily, and people do it peaceably, because that's the most productive way. Yeah, you could have a bunch of fighting, but eventually that's going to come to an end, because you can't sustain that lifestyle.
and I've said it a bunch, but in the past, before the government was in every portion of your life in some way, shape, or form, there were these organizations to do things that the governments claim monopolies on healthcare and all sorts of things. And these were called
friendly societies.
Friendly societies.
Or mutual aid society.
Mutual aid societies. Yes. Society exists independently of the organization commonly known as government.
Well, and since we're tackling mythologies here, so there's this idea that, okay, well, you have to sacrifice your absolute freedom to live in a society. And I've been thinking about that. I actually don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to harm anybody. I might get excited at some point and get angry and lose my rational self. But in general, I don't want to hurt anyone ever. So this idea that I'm actually giving something up to live in a society is nonsense. No, I'm not giving up anything.
And why should you?
Right.
What benefit could possibly...
You lose the absolute freedom of harming other people? I didn't want to do that in the first place. I'm not giving anything up to live in society.
Yeah, what could you possibly give up, and what would you get in return for that?
Right.
I mean, what would that deal be exactly? I know that they claim...
you give up the ability to murder people in order to not get murdered, and it's how about I didn't want to murder anyone in the first place?
I have already murdered all of the people that I want to.
Right.
Zero.
Exactly.
It just so happens that number is zero. That's how many people I've already committed all of the murder that I want to.
Right.
Yeah, the suggestion, of course, by the government or by the state is that if it weren't for them, if it weren't for their police specifically,
want you to believe that.
If it weren't for their police, then people would just be killing people in the streets, and it's just nothing could be further from the truth. The reason why people don't go out and commit murder generally. Now, obviously, there are psychopaths, and those are exceptions. Some of them work for the government.
They tend to end up at the top of government and corporation.
So, excluding the psychopaths, which are a very, very small percentage of the human population, most people don't do that stuff. And that's because, again, it is to their benefit to not kill their fellow man, because we can empathize with our fellow man. And the police being there or not being there really has no effect on this. None whatsoever. In fact, the police don't even solve most of the murders.
No.
They do not solve the majority of murders, the supermajority of them out there. There's more coming up here in moments. 603-283-6160. You can join us here. It's Free Talk Live.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after Pork Fest, but ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. forkfest.party. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Nicholas Mountaineer.
And the captain.
And we've told you about Intercoin. It can help any business and organization launch their own currency or raise money using their own token. Now Intercoin.org has launched worldwide. If there's a token you want to launch or an app that you want to build, you can go to Intercoin.org, enter your email, and the team will get in touch and learn about your needs. While you're there, if you want, you can get some Intercoin investor tokens for yourself over at intercoin.org. As we continue here, we will take your calls and thoughts. We just played a ridiculous clip of Anthony Fauci claiming the same old story from these bureaucrats. Because whether it's Fauci or the bureaucrats in downtown Keene, New Hampshire, I've heard this same line from them. Oh, well, you're in society, and so therefore you got to do what we say. And in his case, he's saying that what they say is that you now have to give up your right of making your own decision for the so-called greater good. Now, who is it that gets to decide what the greater good is?
I'm certainly not giving it up to Anthony Fauci.
They are the ones who claim they know what the greater good is based on what's benefiting them, which, of course, is helping their buddies at Pfizer or Moderna or whatever. And I would like to opt out. Okay, so I don't want to be part of their society. I don't care whatever the benefits are, whether it's Social Security or the police or go ahead, count me out. Okay, I just don't want to pay into it, and I don't want to do what you tell me to do because I don't want to be part of this. And that's one of the reasons why we founded the Shire Society years ago. Is because these government bureaucrats kept on telling us literally the same story. Oh, well, you're part of our society. Well, no, I'm not.
Yeah. And if you carry that to its logical conclusion, because all people are individuals and have different preferences for things and different needs, why, it only makes sense that everybody eventually becomes a society of one.
I don't think you can have that.
I'm
by
a society
definition.
of one.
I think you have to have more than one member in order to be a society.
And when exactly did I become a member of your society?
Right.
Darn good question.
Was it
Can you
when
show
I
me
was
my sign-up?
born? Was I born into some kind of slavery? Because that seems
Did I pay
right.
a membership fee? Well, I continuously pay this membership fee.
Did it happen when I was
In the
7
form of
years
taxes.
old? Because I once spoke to a lawyer who told me that this law over here, back in Colorado, says that you became part of our society at 7.
Huh.
Yes.
Interesting claim. What did you do at 7 to become
aged,
that?
apparently.
Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. You can share whatever is on your mind with us. We go to Ray. He's listening to WVFT-FM in Tallahassee, Florida. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, I want to say I appreciate y'all's show very much. I really appreciate the level of intelligence that I'm hearing here, because what I'm finding out about the world anymore is just about anywhere you go, people are insane.
Yeah,
They're
right.
yielding to the Church of Dr. Fauci. It's a new religion.
Yeah.
It's a new religion that will bring you to your knees.
Oh, it's the same religion. You'll find out if you keep looking. It's the same religion, just got a new reverend. That's all. Anthony
He
Fauci's
is
the newest.
The science. The science. Questioning things is not the science. You must not question the science that is Dr. Fauci.
Another empty suit with a different name.
That's so contrary to what science is, isn't it? Because science is always questioned.
That's right. That's the point.
If you can't question it, it's not science, it's propaganda.
Exactly.
It's amazing how many people do not understand that.
Right.
Anything else you want to share, Ray?
You got to deal with that even in your own family. Now, I want to say that I think I had COVID. I'm not going to go to the doctors and the hospitals and ask them if I had it, but I looked at my symptoms, and I had, flu-like symptoms with it was hard for me to breathe. So I figured, well, that might be COVID. So
did you lose your sense of taste? Were you unable to taste food?
I didn't lose the sense of taste or smell, but with the lung problem, and I don't ever have any lung problems. So I contacted Americans Frontline Doctors, and they gave me a prescription for. I asked them for hydroxychloroquine, and they gave me that, and they gave me ivermectin, and so I was able to get that in a few days. I was really thankful, and I got over it. So look, I've got something.
May I ask how old you are, Ray? You sound a little on the older side.
I am. I'm 68. Just turned 68 in the 4th.
68. And how long did this malady last you through, the entire thing with treatment?
Well, I would say about a week.
About a week. All right. And what would you say? How would you rank it on some of the flus that you've had in your life? Like the worst one, or not so much?
It was pretty rough. Yeah. Compared, I've had the flu before, but I've never had flu with lung problems. That's why I figured, well, I must have had COVID. But here, I'm going to tell you, I want to say this now. People that are still trusting in the PCR test aren't even going by the science, because the CDC has already said that they're worthless.
Yep.
And
That's right.
with that in mind, if you believe what the CDC has said about the PCR test, and even the man that made the test says you can't trust the test, especially for the fact that they run them at cycles that destroys anything that might show you anything. What happens is they run it at 40 cycles, and it can tell you that you've got anything. So they get false positives, and then people believe these numbers have been coming across in media, and so it exacerbates the fear. And that's what the whole thing is based on. We know it's not about your safety. It's all about making you fearful, so you run down and take that vaccine. The vaccine is designed to destroy the population, according to Mr. Bill Gates himself. Let me quote you what Bill Gates said.
Please, go ahead.
You can go to YouTube, and you can listen to him saying on that film called Something to Zero. What was that film called? Innovating to Zero. He says, if we do a really good job using vaccines, healthcare, and reproductive services, we can bring the numbers down. He's talking about the population in particular.
Yeah.
So this thing is not about saving lives. This is about destroying lives to bring the population down, because he's so concerned about his what do you call that? Climate change hoax.
There are a bunch of freaks like him that really do believe in this stuff, and they don't hide it. They will come right out and say it.
There's a whole section of humanity, both elite and not, that believe that we are some kind of a disease on the planet. That believe that we need to reduce the population, and it's absolutely insane. And anyone who still thinks that, please look up this dude Malthus. Malthus. Now, he came across this idea centuries ago, and he said, well, our population is increasing exponentially, our ability to create food is increasing mathematically, and that means that eventually we will reach this point where we will all starve to death. And he was completely wrong, because our ability to create technology is also increasing exponentially.
It's unlimited.
Exponentially, we are creating a new world. Always. I mean, plastics didn't exist. Before that, aluminum wasn't a building material. I mean, we're coming up with these new things over and over.
Oil was a farm pollutant.
Even go back further, Adobe, right?
Yeah.
All these things, the wheel, all of these things are inventions because we have the gift. And with that in mind, like, I still kind of subscribe to the custodian of Earth philosophy.
Right.
Because human beings are intelligent. We're smart enough to know that the Earth is a finite resource. It's the only place that we got. And so let's make sure that what we do and what we invent isn't going to kill us all. As long as we do that, have at it.
Thank you, Ray. I want to say appreciate the call. Thanks for sharing your story with your COVID story. I appreciate hearing from you. The number here is 603-283-6160. It's the live Saturday edition of Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever is on your mind. Take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live. Again, 603-283-6160. Coming up, we'll talk about the police. They were brought up earlier on the idea that they're keeping people safe. Well, Seattle's police department might just get cut by a third.
If you want to bring more liberty into your community, there's something you should see. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, break through. It's true. It's truly something new. If you'd like to see real prosperity, start your own currency, boost the economy. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, its impact's hard to overstate, results you can appreciate. If you're tired of relying on the state, want to make your own community great, homelessness and hunger to eliminate, let the wealth accumulate. Don't wait for the growth rate to accelerate. Go to intercoin.org and get the coins for yourself.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And for the second week running, the US stepped back from the brink. Last week it was the government shutdown. This week it temporarily resolved a dispute over the national debt.
Our markets are rattled. America's savings are on the line. The American people, your savings, your pocketbook are directly impacted by this stunt. My Republican friends need to stop playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy.
President Biden urging Republicans to cooperate and permit a raising of the debt ceiling in order to avoid defaulting on America's borrowings in the middle of the month. Late on Thursday night, Republican leader in the Senate Mitch McConnell announced a deal had been struck to avoid a possible global fiscal crisis.
The Senate is moving toward the plan I laid out yesterday to spare the American people a manufactured crisis.
But the deal is temporary. The issue will be haunting Washington and the world again in December. Britain's governing Conservative Party held its annual conference in Manchester this week, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowing to transform the country's economy.
We're not going back to the same old broken model, with low wages, low growth, low skills and low productivity, all of it enabled and assisted by uncontrolled immigration.
FSN's Ollie Barrett with more from our London bureau.
His critics claim he's settled upon this argument recently because of shortages in the labour market and rising prices. They say wages are on the up, partly because people are earning more compared to the peak of the pandemic when millions were on furlough support. And they point out that decades of problems have been presided over to a large extent by Boris Johnson's own Conservative Party.
There was a seeming breakthrough in US relations with China. At a meeting of senior officials in Zurich, an agreement in principle was reached for Presidents Biden and Xi to hold a virtual summit meeting later this year. At the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
What came out of the discussions was an agreement to continue dialogue at a very high level. We're still working through what that would look like, when, and of course the final details, so we don't quite have them yet.
But 24 hours later, the Wall Street Journal revealed that for at least the past year, the US has been secretly training Taiwanese maritime forces as China becomes more aggressive towards the island. The defense minister in Taipei said he expects a Chinese invasion no later than 2025. The Nobel Prizes were handed out this week. Tanzanian-born novelist Abdul Razak Gurna became the first African to win the prize for literature. Americans David Julius and Ardem Pataputian won the prize for medicine for discovering how the skin senses heat. And journalists Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia won the Nobel Peace Prize for defending freedom of expression. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. The number is 603-283-6160 if you want to join us here, and you can bring up whatever happens to be on your mind. Live Saturday episode of the show. In the studio with you tonight, it's Ian.
Speakless Mountaineer.
And the Lord Dr. Reverend Captain Kickass is also here.
We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts, but I do want to let you know about something really stupid that's going to happen here on the radio. Actually, not on the radio. It'll be an after show. So it technically will be too stupid for the radio. It's also probably going to include some profanity, so definitely...
I feel like I need an invite to this thing.
Oh, well, you're getting it right now.
Are we bringing back Freer Talk Live?
Yeah. Freer Talk Live is coming back. It'll be featuring Arya and Conan on Tuesday night, October 12th. They will be eating hot peppers progressively, starting with jalapeno, easy, no problem.
This will be a spicy program.
Moving up to a habanero, then moving, I believe, to the ghost pepper, which is, I think, 1 million Scoville units.
I'm breaking a sweat just thinking about this.
If they can get through that, they are then going to try to eat the Carolina Reaper, which is supposedly the hottest pepper in the world, while attempting to have a discussion on the air. So they're going to have ice cream, apparently, on the ready, and milk, just in case, because they're going to need it. It could be pretty brutal. And it will be two of our hosts torturing themselves for your amusement. So you can watch it at video.freetalklive.com. It starts at about 10:30 Eastern Time on Tuesday night, the 12th.
And the best thing about this is that their torture is voluntary.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah.
They are in a torture society. A voluntary torture society with peppers.
Which, to be fair, you do actually need at least two people to be in a society.
So.
No, you have to.
I think you do.
However,
I don't think so. I think you can have a society with just yourself.
You can have a kingdom of one. And I actually consider that to be the ideal form, is that each of us is a kingdom.
Okay, sure. And in my kingdom is a society in which I only allow myself to be in.
Well, as a sovereign being, you can use that word the way you like.
Hold on. What if you have more than one personality?
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying, you could be a single human person,
right.
But you could be Captain Kickass. You could be also another person at the same time.
Perhaps I have an alter ego.
Have in fact many personalities. There's angry me, happy me, silly me, goofy me, which are very similar.
Sleepy,
but
grumpy,
distinct.
dopey.
But yeah. As a matter of fact,
you are all 7 dwarfs.
I am certainly right now. I am certainly not the me that I am when I'm hungry. You don't want to meet that guy. He's not pleasant.
Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts here. We got Cameron on the line in Tennessee. Cameron, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's on your mind?
So I was in a class yesterday, English class in college, and we're reading this book called So You Want to Talk About Race. And I really don't want to read it. But
yeah, I was going to say, I really don't want to talk about race. I'd rather we just all be in the human race, but go ahead.
No, that's the name of the book.
I know. I'm just saying. It doesn't sound like something I want to talk about.
I mean, are we talking about people running in a circle? Are we talking about NASCAR? What kind of a race are we talking about?
It's college, Captain. You know exactly what kind. Go ahead, Cameron.
All right. So I have to read it. I have to play the game. I don't have to, but I'm prescribed to play the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct. I'm doing it.
You signed up for the class. You got to get through it. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So then he goes into a discussion about topics that are systematically racist. And he brings up cryptocurrency. And I'm like, how the hell? I bit my tongue there. But how is cryptocurrency systematically racist? But
and what did he say?
Is it in the same context that mathematics is systematically racist?
No.
Huh? All right, I'm confused. So what was his rationale or explanation for why he is saying that cryptocurrency is somehow racist?
Because, all right, he was arguing against himself, and I had to bite my tongue, but I'll just tell you.
Speaking of having multiple personalities.
But can you sum it up? I mean, can you sum up what he was trying to blather out?
All right. I'll give you a summarization to the best of my ability. Black people are less inclined to trust the government. That was his baseline argument.
I've seen some data to support that assertion.
But this is why they and I get along.
Harumph.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And that's
that's
why
anecdotal. That's anecdotal. That's not.
Okay.
But what does that have to do with cryptocurrency?
Go ahead.
Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with cryptocurrency.
Okay,
that was my mindset also. That you're basically saying what I was saying in my head. But this is the baseline argument that he's presenting.
Mm.
And then he said, well, this is not a fiat currency, but black people will be more inclined to buy it. So he was arguing against himself, but at the same time arguing for it.
I can certainly hope so, but I don't see how that adds up to...
Racist?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like, so he's saying that black people would be more likely to get into cryptocurrency. Well, that'd be fantastic, because then they would be more likely to gain wealth, and then that would increase their, if they're a poor black person, that would increase their status in life quite a bit. Like we were just talking about the Shiba Inu, a ridiculous token. Somebody made this token in just another Ethereum token, right? Like anybody can go and just spin up their own token.
Since Doge is working so well, let me make this pseudo Doge.
And when this came out a year ago, I'm like, oh, great, another one of these things. And I didn't do anything about it, of course, but had you apparently somebody said on Twitter that if you put $1,000 into Shiba Inu, you'd have like $200 million if you put it in right at the beginning. Just crazy, man.
Well, it's still a better currency than the U.S. dollar. I mean...
This is a fact. I can't really take that away from any of these things.
Thank you, Cameron. Go ahead.
No. Why would a professor say that it's systematically racist? These are the people that are supposed to be teaching. They're indoctrinating people.
Well, it's literally called circular logic. So they go into every situation with the belief that white people are evil and racist, which are largely the same thing in their minds. And since there is this thing, it must also prove that white people are evil and racist.
It's ridiculous, honestly.
It's utter insanity. Yeah. But, I mean, frankly, that's what you get in college.
Thank you, Cameron, for the call tonight. I do appreciate you sharing your college story with us there. Now, Peakless, you had something you wanted to add.
Our previous caller had mentioned, and he was in his 60s, I guess, taking ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. So I will preface this. I am not a doctor, but from my research, it appears to be somewhat of a consensus among the free press that these are good things for the early onset of the virus, but are not effective if you have progressed sufficiently far into the viral infection. Now, what I have seen. And again, not a doctor, and I have no data to specifically back this up, but it is being said that once you have progressed into the sickness, what can work is an antioxidant of one kind or another, which seems to be why those are getting pulled from the shelves these days.
Interesting.
So those are effective for the early onset, not for after you've actually developed very deep symptoms and potential hospitalization. At that point, it may work. If you happen to be in that situation or a loved one is, speak to a health professional about the possibility of antioxidants, because those seem to be the most effective way of pulling someone back from the brink, as it were.
Hopefully you have a trustworthy health professional who's not completely into this whole, government-mandated nonsense, and they'll give you some honest advice. So
well, and to get a leg up on the antioxidants, talk to a nutritionist.
True.
There you go. All right, so 603-283-6160, that is the number. You can join us. You can bring up whatever is on your mind, whether it be crypto, the cops, society. You decide. It's up to you. The number is 603-283-6160. You can take control of the airwaves here on the live Saturday edition of Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. Join us.
This is novelist Tom Robbins. When my mother was diagnosed with glaucoma, her conservative Virginia physician told her there was only one treatment that might ease her pain and save her eyesight. That treatment was medical marijuana, which he could not prescribe. I offered to get her some and teach her how to use it effectively, but my father objected because marijuana was against the law. So my mother, who loved to read and walk in nature, was condemned to grow cruelly, unnecessarily blind. Tragedies like this happen all the time, but they don't have to keep happening. To learn more about medical marijuana, call the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. It is the live Saturday edition of the program. The number, if you want to join us here at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio here tonight, you've got Ian.
Nicholas Mountaineer.
And the captain.
We still got to get to the stories. I mean, if we don't, it's fine, because, you know, I love open phones. That's what the point of the show is, and we've had a ton of calls here tonight, and still several, a few more are on hold, but we do have room for you if you want to jump in. 603-283-6160. Coming up, are the Seattle police going to fire roughly a third of their entire police squad? We'll tell you about that on the way here. And if we get the chance, also a third civil war. Captain Kickass will tell us about it. But first, to your phone calls and thoughts. Jill is on the line first in Virginia. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Jill.
Hello. My idea about this notion that the individual must give up his own individual rights for the collective.
That's what Fauci said.
Well, I accept the philosophy of Ayn Rand, and I don't go along with that collectivist junk at all. She said society is only a number of individual men. Also, what I think is the only entity that literally exists is the individual. Not the family, not the state, not the nation, not the race.
It's the smallest minority, the individual.
Yes, and the actual entity that actually exists there in front of your eyes is the individual. And he is the one with the rights, not the collective.
That's right.
That is what Western civilization has been founded on as a principle since the get-go, is that the individual is the standard of measurement.
And in fact, when, supposedly anyway, when the folks who put together the thing known as the United States of America, that the government was going to be one that was the custodian that looked after protecting the rights of the individual.
Yeah.
I know.
How'd that work out? How'd that work out?
They became the largest empire ever on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't do it by violating the rights of the people in other countries. I think it wasn't like Great Britain or the Roman Empire. But anyway, that's what I...
Well, they've certainly violated the rights of people in other countries. I mean, look at the Middle East. They've ravaged those folks over there and destroyed all kinds of innocent lives. So what do we do about this, Jill? Because clearly, the idea of a true voluntary society is lost on the statists out there, and they're running the schools. They're indoctrinating people. There's a bunch of people that agree with Fauci, that they want what he wants. They want to be told what to do.
I want to get rid of public schools. I mean, government-operated, government-financed education.
I think that would be a nice step in the right direction. Unfortunately, I don't know if we have enough people in the same place to pull that off yet. And I think that's the reason why a lot of us have come to New Hampshire.
Well, it has to be done over time and on a state-by-state basis, I think.
Yeah.
And even on a family-by-family basis. I mean, the way that you get rid of government insert thing here is by doing non-government insert thing here.
Replace it with something better.
Right.
Replace it with an alternative. Thank you, Jill. I appreciate your thoughts tonight. The number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. And that's a big reason why a lot of the people have chosen, a lot of people like us, people that actually agree with what Jill was saying there, that individual rights are the most important, that freedom is the most important, that we want to not have these goons like Fauci and his cops and his so-called scientists telling us how to live. Those people, the people that understand the ideas of liberty, that have been coming here to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project or the Shire Society or the unnamed migration of liberty-loving people coming to New Hampshire, there are thousands of us who have made this migration over the last 15 years, and more are moving in literally every week. And that's what it's going to take. It takes an actual choice to move for freedom.
And if Jill is right, then, and it has to be done on sort of a state-by-state basis, why, I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy to be the first state to give it a shot.
Absolutely. Right. And that's what it's going to take. In fact, it will take one place to show the rest of the world the way. Like, okay, we're getting rid of government schools. You can still have a public school. You can have a school that is like 7-Eleven is open to anyone who's in the public as long as they wear shoes or whatever, right? Like you can go in there and you can buy a thing. So you can still have a school that is open to anybody that wants to come and learn there. It just won't be funded by the threat of violence. It won't be funded through the threat against your property, which is exactly how they fund schools today. If you don't want to pay for the government school system, they're going to steal your house from you. That's what they do.
So if you want to live free, get up here and help us show them how it's done.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way out.
That's what it's going to take. And no, we don't want the kind of people who say, oh, well, yeah, once you guys secede, I'm coming up. No, no. We don't need people like that. We need people that are willing to come help us declare independence. Help us get rid of the government schools. I mean, obviously,
help us form an independent society where we can be free and peaceful.
And walk away peacefully from the United States. There's, of course, a bill here in New Hampshire that is going to, hopefully, if it is passed by over 60% of the state House and the Senate, give the New Hampshire voters the opportunity to vote on declaring independence from the United States. And the gears are just beginning to turn on this, and already I think that it's got a lot of potential to attract a lot of support here in New Hampshire. I think a lot of the state reps don't understand how popular this idea is going to be, and I think it's going to be much bigger than some people think.
It could be an historic event.
Yeah.
And just a quick note about going down to Mexico. You have to fill out paperwork like, what is your nationality? New Hampshire, USA.
You put that down there?
Oh, yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
Nice.
And for very practical reasons. Like, one never knows how long this is going to take to return, and it may very well be by the time I get back here that New Hampshire has become independent of the USA.
Well, that'd be pretty sweet if we could do it in a week. But unfortunately, it's going to be a little longer.
One never knows what may happen when trying to return.
Yeah, that's true.
Are they going to change the rules again? And then I'm going to have to do this, this, and this to get back here. Who knows? But just in case that should occur, that's exactly what I put down. The nation I am from is New Hampshire.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. David's on the line from New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live, David.
Well, if government schools are that fantastic, it stands to reason that government courts are equally as fantastic. And so through the miracle of a crystal ball, which I have here in the form of hindsight, which we know to be 2020, as you just demonstrated, looking at a Dogecoin lookalike cryptocurrency, let's take a look through our crystal ball of hindsight at a court performance measure. And looking at court records itself, I see that, and this is NewMexicoCourts.gov case lookup. Anybody can find it. I'm looking at the government's records here. And I searched for the name E-L-I-C-H, Elich, Kurt, K-U-R-T. And I find the performance of Judge M. Monica Zamora, who terminated the parental rights to my own children of me and adopted those children to Kurt Elich that you can find in these court records. And then I read aggravated battery against a household member, strangulation or suffocation, felony, criminal sexual contact, misdemeanor, battery, household member, misdemeanor, battery, petty misdemeanor, assault, unlawful acts, threats, or conduct, petty misdemeanor. Now, of those
Sounds
five
like
charges,
just the person who should be in charge of someone's children.
Oh, yeah.
Good thing the state took them away from you where they would be protected.
Yeah, and if you want to search Olson, O-L-S-O-N, David, 1964, it should be said that Kurt Elich is 1980 to better understand the court records here. But if you search my records, you will find no equivalent or nearly equivalent criminal endeavors, especially against children. And the last two of those charges were against children. They were against my son that intervened when this person was attacking his mother.
You mean you don't run around strangling your family members? Jeez.
Well,
what a peacenik.
Apparently, now I wasn't there, but in reading police reports, I did see that Mr. Elich was drunk and came home at 4 a.m. and proceeded to involve himself in these activities. But I wasn't there, so I really don't know. But what I do know is that years prior, Judge M. Monica Zamora in the state of New Mexico did do as I said, and luckily, though, the Wexler, Bustamante, and Kennedy at the New Mexico Court of Appeals had the wisdom to reverse the poor judgment of Judge M. Monica Zamora.
But this guy still got custody.
Well, he still did, and he lived with them right up till the day that he beat them up, and then he was moved out. So,
thank you, David, for the call tonight here. Of course, the government court system sucks in the same way that the schools do, as you pointed out, because they're monopolies. They have no meaningful competition. You're forced to use their services, no matter how lousy they might be or how expensive they may cost. There's more coming up here, and Hour 3 is on the way. Open phones for you at Free Talk Live.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover brings her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And for the second week running, the US stepped back from the brink. Last week it was the government shutdown. This week it temporarily resolved a dispute over the national debt.
Our markets are rattled. America's savings are on the line. The American people, your savings, your pocketbook are directly impacted by this stunt. My Republican friends need to stop playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy.
President Biden urging Republicans to cooperate and permit a raising of the debt ceiling in order to avoid defaulting on America's borrowings in the middle of the month. Late on Thursday night, Republican leader in the Senate Mitch McConnell announced a deal had been struck to avoid a possible global fiscal crisis.
The Senate is moving toward the plan I laid out yesterday to spare the American people a manufactured crisis.
But the deal is temporary. The issue will be haunting Washington and the world again in December. Britain's governing Conservative Party held its annual conference in Manchester this week, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowing to transform the country's economy.
We're not going back to the same old broken model with low wages, low growth, low skills and low productivity, all of it enabled and assisted by uncontrolled immigration.
FSN's Ollie Barrett with more from our London bureau.
His critics claim he's settled upon this argument recently because of shortages in the labour market and rising prices. They say wages are on the up, partly because people are earning more compared to the peak of the pandemic when millions were on furlough support. And they point out that decades of problems have been presided over to a large extent by Boris Johnson's own Conservative Party.
There was a seeming breakthrough in US relations with China. At a meeting of senior officials in Zurich, an agreement in principle was reached for Presidents Biden and Xi to hold a virtual summit meeting later this year. At the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
What came out of the discussions was an agreement to continue dialogue at a very high level. We're still working through what that would look like, when, and of course the final details, so we don't quite have them yet.
But 24 hours later, the Wall Street Journal revealed that for at least the past year, the US has been secretly training Taiwanese maritime forces as China becomes more aggressive towards the island. The defense minister in Taipei said he expects a Chinese invasion no later than 2025. The Nobel Prizes were handed out this week. Tanzanian-born novelist Abdul Razak Gurna became the first African to win the prize for literature. Americans David Julius and Ardem Pataputian won the prize for medicine for discovering how the skin senses heat. And journalists Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia won the Nobel Peace Prize for defending freedom of expression. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Facebook had a terrible week. A 6-hour global outage of its main platform, plus Instagram and WhatsApp, was followed by testimony on Capitol Hill from whistleblower Frances Haugen. She said the company has a pernicious influence on society and says Mark Zuckerberg and his fellow executives know it does.
Facebook has repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children, the efficacy of its artificial intelligence systems, and its role in spreading divisive and extreme messages. I came forward because I believe that every human being deserves the dignity of the truth. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people. Congressional action is needed. They won't solve this crisis without your help.
Mr. Zuckerberg denied all her allegations, but she has thousands of pages of internal documents to back them up. This week on Wall Street, investors will focus on the health of the US consumer, and earnings season gets underway with some of the major banks releasing quarterly figures. With our preview from FSN's business desk in New York, Will Denzelo.
Last week's weaker-than-expected jobs report was further proof that the Delta variant has hurt hiring. Wednesday's Consumer Price Index data will give a further read on inflation. Then Friday's retail sales data will provide insight into the strength of the US consumer. JP Morgan, Bank of America and Goldman Sachs are among the major US banks set to release quarterly figures this week as earnings season kicks into gear.
Stories we'll be following in the coming week. The annual autumn meetings of the IMF and the World Bank take place in Washington, and the G20 convenes an emergency summit on Afghanistan. Those stories here and on Twitter at Feature Story. And that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
Japan grants suffrage to female robots, and a hypochondriac maple tree is always convinced it has Asian longhorn beetles. The following two statements are true. The previous statement is false, and this is the Onion Week in Review. This week, Americans nationwide were stunned to hear horrific allegations on Wall Street revealing that numerous junior bankers have been forced to survive on a mere $6,800 per week. The findings, which implicate numerous high-profile financial institutions such as Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, and Citibank, suggest that hundreds of first-year bankers are constantly deprived of basic necessities, including penthouse apartments overlooking Central Park and regular company-financed vacations to the French Riviera.
Many of these bankers are 23 or 24 years old and don't even have access to an expense account of over $50,000 a year. Not only that, but some of them are making as little as 20 times minimum wage. I mean, this is truly disgraceful.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of this live Saturday episode. The number for you if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Nicholas Mountaineer.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass.
And of course, you can bring up what you want. Coming up, if we get the chance, Seattle police may be firing what looks to be about a third of their force.
Yeah!
We'll tell you why on the way here in just a moment. Plus, a civil war, a third civil war. What about the second one?
What's so civil about war
Captain
anyway?
has a story about that on the way when we get a chance. But your calls have been coming in all night long, and that's what we do. We go to the phones when we got them, so we go first to Theodore. He's listening in Pennsylvania on the road. He's tuned in to WEEO FM. Go ahead, Theodore.
Well, hi there.
Hey, you're on the air.
How about that? Hey, you were talking earlier about the state of New Hampshire, talking about the possibility of becoming its own independent republic or state, as you call it. So,
yeah, going back to that idea, because we have been that in the past.
Well, that was the original idea of these United States.
Well, there's some things. Remember, anything worthwhile is going to take a lot of effort, and it's going to take a lot of determination to do it.
Absolutely.
But this, let me continue first, just to get the whole overall picture of what I'm presenting after hearing you guys on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
For any state and the Union of the United States are going to have to break away, all it's going to take is the following events to occur. This vaccine mandate is an absolute joke. Absolutely. I don't care what anybody says. I don't have any opinion of any. I'm not listening to anybody else. As far as I'm concerned, they're idiots. Fauci, you might as well put him on the guillotine as far as I'm concerned. That's the best way to deal with these people. These people ain't going away. The only way to get rid of them is either kill them or incarcerate them.
Well, I don't agree with violence.
I think that we need to try Dr. Anthony Fauci. I think that is a fact. We need to try him.
Listen for a moment. Trump tried this for 4 years and fought everybody. If he played it heavy-handed,
when you say he tried this, what do you mean? Because a lot of this mandate crap came out under Trump.
Not completely.
Well, yeah, but had he gotten reelected, you better believe Fauci would still be sitting in his same seat where he's sitting right now.
He could have eliminated Fauci with the snap of his fingers, and he didn't.
Maybe.
No, not maybe. He was the commander-in-chief. He can assign that position.
Hold it. At first of all, you're working off right now evidence now. You're assuming some things. I'm just simply saying Trump didn't get past the first 4 years. We already know it was a rigged election.
Well, hold on.
That aspect.
I would like to get back to what you were originally saying of these are the things that need to happen for a state to secede from the union.
Right.
I really want to get back to that.
Okay, go
ahead.
The
point I'm getting at is this. If a state's going to, any state in the Union of the United States is going to declare independent republic, whether it's going to be its own state, self-governing nation, whatever. You got to understand all the entanglements that state is now being involved with the federal government of any kind. Now, if the citizens of a state says we want to separate from the Union of the United States, this is going to send shockwaves throughout the whole nation of the United States and the world.
Yeah.
Good.
Wait. Just listen. Like the first shot in Concord, New Hampshire, when the British were coming after us, confiscating guns.
Well, no, it wouldn't be like that because we're doing it peacefully. And I understand that you think violence is a solution, but the movement here is a peaceful movement.
Listen,
in fact,
it sounded to me like what he was saying is that it would be that momentous of an event.
Okay, but he did say he wanted to use violence earlier. Go ahead.
I've heard your point. The point is, do you think the federal government's going to take this laying down when they start seeing state?
What do you think they're going to do?
Oh, I can tell you what they can do.
Tell me.
First step they're going to do, I mean, is look at the puppet masters of Biden. All of a sudden, if you have state after state leaving the union, let's say 30 out of 50, you think the federal government can sustain itself on 20 states and already in poor
what are they going to do
right now?
You may have missed the point, Theodore.
No,
we actually don't want the federal government to sustain itself at all.
They can go to hell.
I realize that.
Yeah.
But you know what? You got to be ready. You think they want to give away? They think they want to let go of their
What are they going to do?
Easy. They can bring in the military and declare martial
law. No. So then they're going to what? Shoot their supporters?
No one has ever thought of the idea someone can rig an election and Trump is out the door. They can play all kinds of games with states.
So
the point I'm getting at is this: states will start considering if they want to secede if our economy collapses because of all kinds of indications right now.
Our economy
We're already considering it. See, that's the thing. The bill's already been filed. It's going to get a public hearing coming up in early 2022. And if they want to roll in the troops, which is the big scary, the military is going to come in, are they going to start just shooting people? Because they're going to be shooting some of their supporters too, right? Because when the vote happens
that'll look real good on YouTube.
Yeah, are they going to drop a bomb on a city in New Hampshire? Thanks for the call tonight, Theodore, but your fear-mongering isn't going to dissuade us because ultimately, I don't know what his goal was, but this is a common objection is, oh God, the federal government's going to roll in tanks. Well, that's exactly why we ought to leave because this is an abusive relationship with a sick effer. And I'm not just talking about Joe Biden. I'm talking about the federal government in general. It doesn't matter if it's Trump. I know these people love to believe that Trump's some sort of good guy. And I'm sorry, the government
it's Coke or Pepsi, it's still going to kill you.
The government got bigger under Trump, and Trump's, FBI still did terrible things to peaceful human beings, and they dropped bombs in the Middle East. So sorry, don't buy all that. I was demanding independence under Trump, under Bush, under Obama, so it doesn't matter to me who's in charge over there.
Right.
And remember, when the vote happens, if it's 70% that vote to declare independence, that still leaves 30%, because we need 67% roughly to declare independence here through a constitutional amendment in New Hampshire. So if you get over, let's say 70%, that still means 30% are allied with the federal government. 30% of the population here are their supporters. Yeah, but I was just saying, if they roll in tanks or start dropping bombs, that's going to be real bad PR. They're killing their own supporters.
Oh, yeah.
In that case.
And if they do that, they will be revealing themselves as the tyrants that they actually are.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And the difference, of course, between the 1800s and today is, number one, we're doing it peacefully.
Yes.
So the New Hampshire independence movement is not about firing on the federal fort, is not about doing violence to anybody in the federal government. That's what he suggested. That's what the caller suggested as the solution. And no, that makes you like them.
Oh, yeah. And okay, so here's my thought on the matter. Okay, if we actually decide we're done, we want a divorce, we want out of the union, and they're like, no, you can't. Okay, let's go ahead and assume that happens. Well, we're just going to sit here and complain and say, hey, we're being oppressed, and we're going to tell the entire world over and over and over again, we want out and they won't let us. And eventually they're going to get the message, and the rest of the world is going to be like, yeah, these guys are kind of being tyrants and really making us all kind of look bad.
There was actually a really interesting report that Dr. Bob Murphy came out with, he's a libertarian guy, and
one of the most brilliant men and an extraordinary economist.
Great guy. He wrote like a 45-page essay or report or whatever about why Texas should secede. And there was a great last 20 pages where he addresses all of the objections, all the standard stuff about what about Social Security and what if the military comes in and all these questions. And that's where I got some of this from, because he does a really great job of it. So kudos to him on that. But did the European Union invade Great Britain when the Brexit happened?
They did not.
They did not.
Well, and also okay, they're going to bring in the military. I don't know if he's sort of from the city or from a more urban and populated area, but I got to tell you, the places where they can actually bomb are cities. And those are the places where you're going to have more supporters for a large federal union.
That's right.
Whereas New Hampshire is a largely...
It's the woods.
Yes, it's the woods.
Yes.
We live in the
area.
woods. Yeah. People come up here to see leaves because we live in the woods. And you just can't roll in the military in the woods the way that you can in the city.
And, look at what happened to them in Afghanistan, by the way. I mean, there's a bunch of dudes in caves there that managed to really give the military a real bad time over the period of 20 years. Didn't work real well for them there, and New Hampshire has more machine guns per capita, I think, than any other state. I don't know, just something to think about. More coming up here in moments. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com. Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live. Open phones if you want to join us. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And joining you tonight, it's Ian.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And the captain.
Let's go to your phone calls, your thoughts. You can bring up whatever you want to discuss. We haven't heard from this guy in a little while. Jerome is on the line in South Carolina, listening to WTMA. Jerome, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, your co-conspirator there, I recognize his voice. He always talks about how many bombs Obama dropped. How many people have Obama bombed while he was in office? But you don't talk about that 700,000 people Trump let die from this virus, though, right?
Have I mentioned that we should also try and potentially execute Trump?
Yeah.
I mean, after a trial. But
Go
yes,
ahead.
every single one of these blood-soaked monsters are warmongers of the highest degree and psychopaths that should not be allowed in society.
No, the Republican Party are the warmongers, okay? They're the warmongers. They're the ones that always let
because Biden isn't carrying on any wars right now.
Well, to be fair, Biden did draw down the Afghanistan occupation.
And how
Which
does
brings
that
us
work
down to
out?
5 wars?
Out?
But he didn't.
How's that working out?
But you do remember when Barack Obama was in office and the wars continued full strength under Barack Obama, right? So and it's not like Joe Biden has withdrawn the U.S. military from all of its engagements around the world. So by no means is he anti-war. But I will give him credit where credit's due.
Hey, let me say this. You talk about how Obama and the wars and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Biden tried to bring all the soldiers home and bring people home, and what happened? They went crazy. 20 years? That's nothing. We got to stay over there. I said, man, 20 years now. 20 years. And then you got not Trump, but Bush saying, oh, no, it's not going to be like all them other wars. 20 years they put us in this country, man. The people don't even want to fight for their own country. They want you to fight and die. 20 years, and they're all angry and say, oh, no, that ain't long enough. Well, how long you want us to be there?
Well,
good question.
Yeah,
Never.
I don't want
to be there at all.
I don't want the United States of America to be involved in any military conflicts, kinetic military action, any version of war, any new words that they make up for it.
I don't even think the military should exist.
Now, everybody seems to forget that just because Biden pulled some troops out of Afghanistan doesn't mean that the organization known as the United States of America isn't still at war in many other countries, dropping bombs, engaging in military action that can only be classified as war. It's still going on, and everybody seems to have forgotten.
Fun fact, by the way.
Go ahead.
I asked
just a quick fun fact.
About,
the Constitution almost agrees with you. It says that no army should exist for more than a year.
You mean agrees with me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Ultimately, they have the army because they just keep on loading it essentially every year. They reauthorize just to keep it quote unquote constitutional. Go ahead, Jerome. What were you saying?
Hey, you got people like Hey, and this message. Is he enough of an attention whore? He's out campaigning where in Nebraska, Nebraska somewhere? Is he enough of an attention whore?
I have no idea.
Huh?
I don't know where Trump is. I mean, is he allowed on any social media platforms to...
I have literally not seen that dude's face since he stopped being president.
You think if 700,000 people had died from a virus that he didn't do everything in his power to try to control? You think Obama could show his
You think the government can control a virus? Jerome, haven't you been paying attention?
Hey, Jerome, I have a question. I have a question and a challenge for you, Jerome. I challenge you to turn your TV off from the time I'm done talking to you until this time next week, and tell me how your life has improved this time next week on this show.
Let me ask you this. 700,000 people have died from this virus, and he thinks he should be president again. What damn planet is this fool
Jerome,
living
I
on?
agree with you. We don't need any president, do we?
Agreed. No, we don't.
No president
And
whatsoever.
I heard a woman say, oh no, Biden's not my president. Trump's my president.
I don't want any president.
It's what I was telling the caller before you. Trump could have gotten rid of Fauci, and frankly, Fauci, it seems to be, was the one who funded the creation of this virus in the Wuhan lab.
You know why he wants to use executive privilege? So these papers
because they all do.
Around
because they like power, because they're psychopaths.
You know why? Because you can't do it because he doesn't have that big fat fool attorney general he had in there now. What's the guy's name?
Who knows?
No
Who cares?
Yeah,
Jerome,
that big fat fool.
I don't care who they're all fools. All of them. They're thugs. Every attorney general is just a big cop. I mean, that's ultimately they're the top cop in the United States. You don't trust the police, do you?
I think that is entirely too generous. They're not fools. They're evil.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not. They're not unaware of the effects of what their actions are. Jerome, they're fully aware.
Why do you want to have a president, Jerome?
Look, we got to have somebody in office.
Why?
No,
but not Trump. But
why have they convinced you that there needs to be somebody in control of you?
Well, who you gonna be in charge?
No, God, no. I don't
want me.
I don't want to tell you how to live. I don't want to tell you what to do.
Jerome, why can't you be in charge of yourself?
I am in charge of it in a way, but I got to sit over this presidential library.
Well, what the hell do you need a president for if you're in charge of yourself? Why would you need somebody to tell you what to do?
I got to get this off my chest about this.
Man, why don't you just answer the question? Can we have a conversation? I know you got a lot to say, but you can call in every single night and say stuff. So why can't we just have a conversation where you answer some questions that we have for you?
Look, I'm just a little guy, man. I can't control everybody. I can control myself, but I can't control.
That sounds awesome.
That makes you a human being. Yeah. You don't want to. I mean, why would you want to control other people? You don't, do you?
We got to have something done, man. We got to have somebody in some kind of control.
Why?
Hey, things ain't good now.
Yeah,
They're
it's
not good
called
now.
self-control.
Yeah, make your own
Did you
choices.
We do need
see-
some
did
kind
you
of
see what
control.
happened at the
We need
Capitol?
government
You see
from
what happened at
within.
the Capitol?
Huh?
Did you see what happened at the Capitol?
What happened?
Huh?
What Capitol?
In Washington. January 6th mean anything to you? What were you doing, taking a cat nap?
Oh, he's going back
Were
to
you doing,
January
taking a
6th.
cat nap?
I thought something happened like recently that he was talking about.
Were you
I'm like,
taking
what?
a
What
cat
happened?
nap?
January 6th was a joke, man. I mean,
Were
nothing
you
happened
playing with
there.
you were playing with your binky or something, huh? You didn't see that?
Nothing happened on January 6th, man. It was an unauthorized tour. I mean, that was it.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. You were playing with your binky. Okay, after you hang up on me, you can go back to playing with your binky now, since you don't know what's going on.
All right,
What
Jerome.
happened on
You want to see a
January
real
6th, Ron?
insurrection? You want to see a real insurrection? Go look in Afghanistan when the Taliban took over and with guns took over the capital in Kabul. Thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate it. And then they took photographs of themselves in the, their equivalent of the Oval Office or whatever, the president's office there. And that was a real insurrection.
I say it frequently, but Jerome is caught up in the soap opera that is televised politics, and it's really, really sad to see.
Yeah. The insurrection will not be televised. You saw it on TV. It wasn't an insurrection.
603-283-6160. We got time for you if you want to join us here. The Third Civil War. I do want to talk about it, so hopefully that's on the way still. It's Free Talk Live. Bring up what you want.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And for the second week running, the US stepped back from the brink. Last week it was the government shutdown. This week it temporarily resolved a dispute over the national debt.
Our markets are rattled. America's savings are on the line. The American people, your savings, your pocketbook are directly impacted by this stunt. My Republican friends need to stop playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy.
President Biden urging Republicans to cooperate and permit a raising of the debt ceiling in order to avoid defaulting on America's borrowings in the middle of the month. Late on Thursday night, Republican leader in the Senate Mitch McConnell announced a deal had been struck to avoid a possible global fiscal crisis.
The Senate is moving toward the plan I laid out yesterday to spare the American people a manufactured crisis.
But the deal is temporary. The issue will be haunting Washington and the world again in December. Britain's governing Conservative Party held its annual conference in Manchester this week, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowing to transform the country's economy.
We're not going back to the same old broken model, with low wages, low growth, low skills and low productivity, all of it enabled and assisted by uncontrolled immigration.
FSN's Ollie Barrett with more from our London bureau.
His critics claim he's settled upon this argument recently because of shortages in the labour market and rising prices. They say wages are on the up, partly because people are earning more compared to the peak of the pandemic when millions were on furlough support. And they point out that decades of problems have been presided over to a large extent by Boris Johnson's own Conservative Party.
There was a seeming breakthrough in US relations with China. At a meeting of senior officials in Zurich, an agreement in principle was reached for Presidents Biden and Xi to hold a virtual summit meeting later this year. At the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
What came out of the discussions was an agreement to continue dialogue at
a very high level. We're still working through what that would look like, when, and of course the final details, so we don't quite have them yet.
But 24 hours later, the Wall Street Journal revealed that for at least the past year, the US has been secretly training Taiwanese maritime forces as China becomes more aggressive towards the island. The defense minister in Taipei said he expects a Chinese invasion no later than 2025. The Nobel Prizes were handed out this week. Tanzanian-born novelist Abdul Razak Gurna became the first African to win the prize for literature. Americans David Julius and Ardem Pataputian won the prize for medicine for discovering how the skin senses heat. And journalists Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia won the Nobel Peace Prize for defending freedom of expression. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Open phones here if you want to join us. The live Saturday show.
We're totes based.
Oh no, stop.
Like Stanley.
603-283-6160. I only say that because we don't have time to get into it. And I would love to talk about that topic.
So loud.
But we're not going to do it right now. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Speakless Mountaineer.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass.
And, of course, you can join us online anytime you want. Head over to freetalklive.com. You can, by the way, watch the show on our Odyssey channel. We stream it live, but you can also watch later via archives, via uncensorable library-based archives. What is library? LBRY. It's an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol. Notice protocol different from platform.
Mm-hmm.
Protocol is the underlying structure of the internet, basically. And this is one that is uncensorable, which is why we love it.
Yes.
Which is why we've been using Library for years here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, Library created Odyssey, which is their video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and they're doing a great job. They've got
So that would be the platform then?
That is their platform, correct.
Because we're odd, you see. We're on Odyssey.
Yeah, and you can do that over at video.freetalklive.com. They'll take you right to our channel. You can subscribe to Free Talk Live there, and we're not quite to 1,000 subscribers yet, but that'd be nice to get to, and we'd appreciate your help with that. Head over to video.freetalklive.com. Now, if you want to go all in and really support Free Talk Live through this protocol, you can download the Library desktop app. LBRY.com. Get the desktop app for Windows, Linux, and probably Mac, and then you can subscribe to our channel there, and then any video that you watch, you will help share, and you will help seed that video on into eternity, because you can't delete stuff if a bunch of people are sharing it, and therefore big tech has no control over the system. It's pretty cool. Check it out at video.freetalklive.com. We go to
just to be fair, like ODDYSEE, really, it spells to me Odyssey.
That's not how they spell it, though. They spell it ODYSEE, but we don't have to spell it because we just have that short URL, video.freetalklive.com. Makes it a lot easier. You don't have to figure out how to spell things, weird internet spellings like people love to do on the internet, is spell things different probably because the other website was already taken, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not an action I'd consider based.
Let's go to Let's go to
not
your
a
calls.
well-founded plan there.
Let's talk to Jack. He's in Washington, listening to KBKW in Aberdeen. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I'm kind of being a devil's advocate here, but let's say we get rid of our military, get rid of our police. What keeps China, Russia, and other adversaries from taking us over?
I can answer that.
A gun
very quickly.
behind every blade of grass.
Yes, a heavily armed populace. Military 101 says the most difficult place to invade, the most difficult population is one where the citizenry is heavily armed.
And what about Let's Go Brandon? Do you guys have any feelings on that?
I'm all for Let's Go Brandon.
What is this? I've seen things online about this.
Somebody was saying F you Biden, and somebody played it off as, oh yeah, they're saying Let's Go Brandon.
Oh. Okay.
F you,
Thank you,
Biden. Boom, boom.
Doesn't sound anything like "Let's Go, Brandon."
Well, it was somebody like a reporter or somebody who was trying to like just brush it off and continue on.
Because they were
because
hearing
the
it on
crowd
the-
was chanting "F
It was
you"
on
Biden.
the
Get on
news.
Twitter and Facebook. It's like the biggest thing ever, man. It's huge.
Yeah, let's go, Brandon.
Thanks, Jack,
I'm glad
for
to
the
hear
call.
that they're still doing that.
Appreciate it. Let's continue here. Kadu is on the line in Connecticut. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Kadu.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I've been listening for almost a decade.
Cool,
and
thanks.
This is going to be just a subjective opinion, but I feel like over the years, Ian, you've grown quite a bit. And I feel like I like you more now than I used to like you. I don't know. I just feel like you seem less.
It's so good to see.
You seem.
Thanks, Kadu.
You seem. It's going to seem like an ass kiss, but it's actually not. It's actually true. Is that you seem less defensive in some ways, and like just like more likable in general, and I feel like your character must have improved. I mean, maybe you'll disagree with my assessment of that. I mean, but if you think it's true, what is your secret over the last like decade? Do you feel like you've grown, and if so, what do you attribute it to?
I mean, I've been on the air now for almost 20 years doing this show. So, I mean, I was in my early 20s when Free Talk Live started. Obviously, somebody is likely to have some changes in their demeanor in 2 decades of broadcasting. I can't really speak to just the last decade. That seems too recent to me. But, I mean, definitely I'm not the same person that I was 20 years ago. I will say that for sure. I have since become, I was an atheist when I started broadcasting, and I am no longer an atheist. I'm a panentheist, and I believe in peace. I did not believe in peace when I first started broadcasting. I was one of those people that wanted to see, violent things happen to the state, and that changed for me in the late part of the aughts after I moved to New Hampshire, and I think I was on psychedelics at the time, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror. And can I answer the question?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what year was that?
I don't remember exactly what year it was. It was in the late aughts,
like 08, 09, something
somewhere
like that.
in that range. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror and thinking that I just sort of had this appearance that I didn't like of, and some sort of internal thing, probably more than my external appearance. But I made the choice to pursue peace rather than violent solutions, and maybe that was what you've sort of detected over the years could do. But that's my best guess, and that's my best answer for you.
Right. Yeah, and I could just be projecting something onto it too. It could just be something in me.
Yeah, it could be you.
And I just decided you're more in sync with me now than it was previous. So I could be projecting, but I've definitely noticed, and I'm I'm more of a fan.
Well,
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Perhaps you've grown too, Kadu.
Maybe we all
Sure,
have.
Yeah, it could be.
Thank you,
Personal
Kadu.
progress and character development.
I appreciate hearing from you tonight.
Actually,
Thanks for the call.
It was the peace aspect that kept me as a listener to Free Talk Live.
Yeah.
Because there was, we've all heard about like the different militias and, I don't know, like the Oklahoma City bomber, that kind of a thing, and these guys who write their manifestos and blow something up or shoot a place up and all that kind of stuff. And if you read some of the stuff they've left behind, like they talk about the same types of stuff that we talk about from time to time.
They frequently have legitimate grievances.
Yes, absolutely. Marvin Niemeyer, right? Same kind of a thing, right? He got the shaft big time by, the people in the organization known as government. So it's the peaceful aspect that kept me listening to Free Talk Live, because like y'all were the only ones preaching it, so to speak. I didn't hear this coming from any other, avenue, right? There's always people who are like, well, we just have to, live and let live, and government's going to government. And then there are other people who are like, no, we got to kill these MFers. And I'm like, no, we don't need to do any of that. What we need is to evolve as people.
Yeah, and I didn't have a chance to object to something you said earlier, Peakless, but you said you want to put Trump and Biden on trial and send them away forever. I don't want that. I just want them to leave us alone. And then I'm happy to just say forgiveness. Let's go. We're out.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about ideals, what I would prefer the most is for them to have a renewed awareness of themselves and of reality, and to stop being psychopaths.
Well, that is totally
what I
unrealistic.
would like. Like I said, if we're talking
you can't
about
stop a psychopath,
here,
right? Like,
well,
I mean,
no,
except
you can wake up. Even
a psychopath?
Yes, even a psychopath can wake up.
Really?
Can develop the conscience and the.
Is there evidence for this?
The empathy? Yes, I mean it's neuroplasticity knows no bounds.
I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but the fact
redemption is always available.
The fact is that we as a society give these psychopaths the largest gun on planet Earth and allow them to point it at other people at their will and tell other people what to do and how to live their lives. No. We should stop doing that immediately so these psychopaths do not have a platform.
By the way, they prosecuted and put in prison multiple governors of Illinois, and they're still corrupt as hell over there. So that hasn't made any difference, that particular road. More coming up here. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement, and they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
It's obvious the government expects people to pay taxes, whether or not they have a law.
They are a band of marauders. They're a violent band of thugs, and in my opinion, they're a group of strangers. I mean, if I all of a sudden wrote up an invoice for you, Robert, and sent it to your house saying, you owe Free Talk Live $5,000 this year, or if you don't pay us, we're going to send some people after you to punch your face in. Would you cut me a check? I mean, because that's essentially what they're doing. That's essentially what the IRS does. They write a bunch of strangers, people they don't know, an invoice, and they include a bunch of obscure instructions that you're supposed to understand. And then at the very bottom it says, if you don't follow these instructions to the T, we are going to charge you with a criminal offense and throw you in the clink. This is a threat. And I don't take kindly to threats. I don't know about you.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, moments remain. Maybe enough time for you. If you dial now, the number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 here on the live Saturday edition of the show. Man, it's been a good Saturday show. Lots
I've enjoyed it.
Of participation. That is my favorite kind of show, is to hear from different people with different opinions. But yet, the phone lines have cleared away. Now, there's not a single call on the line, which means we can talk about the Civil War, Captain. I want to know. I want to know about this.
All right. Fine.
I want to know about the third.
I was going to talk about deplatforming psychopaths.
Civil War. We've been teasing this all night.
I do just want to kick that out. Deplatform psychopathy.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
By eliminating the platform, right? And the platform is the organization known as government.
Yeah, we're a ways away from that. But the first thing we can do is to just walk away from their platform and do our own thing here in New Hampshire. But check out the Free State Project. Check out...
super quick note. I heard, and it's sort of late news, but I heard about in France, they've had this vaccine passport for a minute.
Yep.
And one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard. So people went to a restaurant that they couldn't go into. So they just picnicked out in front of it.
Yes, that has happened not only in France, but apparently it happened in one of the provinces of Canada recently as well. Now, the video looked like the video I saw from France, because it might have been the same video that was being repackaged and pretending like it was. So I still don't know for sure if it wasn't the same video, but I saw that video you're talking about where there's a camera going down a street.
Perfect symbolism.
There's a camera going down a street where there's restaurants on both sides, and literally people, it's not like a car kind of street, it's just like a walkway kind of street, and there's people sitting there, a whole bunch of them, sitting there having picnics out in front of these vaccine mandate
use
restaurants.
Technology to your advantage and, order you up some Uber Eats or something like that.
Yeah, but they require masks on their employees.
Stop asking for the crumbs and scraps from their table and just get your own table, because we are what powers them anyway.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if that's your, if you're trying to go in and get some food and they go, no, you can't come in because of whatever this is, and you're trying to have a protest by having a picnic, well, then go ahead and do it. Use the technology to your advantage.
I think they came prepared. They went to the grocery store. They made sandwiches.
They had the basket in tow.
Yeah, they had real picnics out in front of them. It was pretty cool. Anyway, Captain, tell me about this Third World War. What's going on?
All right, this is from AIER.
Third Civil War.
The question of whether a third American Civil War has begun occurred to me after reading a recent New York Times piece, deliberately unlinked because it fails fact-checking, that claimed that the president can mandate a vaccine today because George Washington did so during America's first Civil War, more commonly called the American Revolution, 1775 to 83.
Okay.
That much is true, but the article misses a few key differences. It was a wartime measure that applied only to soldiers. It was for smallpox, which was orders of magnitude more deadly than COVID. It was a variolation introduction of small amounts of the live virus into the bloodstream, not experimental gene therapy. Did the New York Times admit too much by analogizing from a wartime scenario, or is it simply grasping at straws as usual, maybe inadvertently some of both? The Revolution and the Civil War were both civil in the sense of being internecine struggles, but both were extremely uncivil in the sense that they were violent shooting wars.
Sure.
That was rent asunder families, towns, counties, and even entire states. Some people call the latter conflict the war between the states, or the war of Yankee aggression, partly for the political reasons, but also following the logic of the Guns N' Roses, what's so civil about war anyway? Some claim that America is already in a civil, in the sense of a non-shooting war, with China, which purportedly has deployed its three warfare strategy of legal, psychological, and public opinion distortion. That would not be surprising. The U.S. of A., of course, waged a long non-shooting conflict, typically referred to as the Cold War against the Soviet Union.
Let me stop you there. So This is a psyop. This is a psychological operation that is being performed on the American people right now. They are ginning us up for war with China. They are trying to get us in the position where they will have this terrible, devastating war so that A, they can collapse what little is left of the American civilization, and B, they can bring in a one-world government. That is the plan, and I'm not falling for it. And if you look into this, so the rise of China was sponsored, like so many things, by the people on Wall Street. Like, this isn't an accident. They've been planning this for 50 years. I mean, they say that only Nixon could go to China. No, only Kissinger could go to China. So, like, this is nonsense. The pro-China and the anti-China are two sides of the same coin, and it's all nonsense.
Yes, this isn't. He was trying to, paint a picture by using some historical occurrences, but he goes on to say America's civil war seems to pit sheeple against people, the brainwashed against those capable of independent thought, and safety-first authoritarians against civil libertarians, left, right, and center. To admit that such a conflict exists does not require a conspiracy theory, just recognition of marginal incentives. Nobody planned America's first two civil wars either. They arose spontaneously from circumstances and incentives in ways so complex that historians still fight over the casual webs that ensnared people and governments in mortal combat.
And that's the real conflict. The real conflict is, are we going to be governed from within or from outside? Are powerful people going to be able to tell us what to do, or are we going to tell us what to do?
Of course, few Americans today want to throw down physically. We've got too much cool stuff and too many followers on social media to risk our lives. It would be a shame to get blood in our hot tubs, pools, or EVs. Moreover, although the sheeple might outnumber the people have more guns, but they really don't want to use them. Correct. Cancel culture, to your point of the PSYOP, cancel culture was the first weapon deployed. Shame people on social media in hopes they will turn into sheeple and begin to follow the crowd, or at least injure their income. It often worked. But some people will not or cannot be canceled. If they lose their jobs, they sue their former employers or slanderous media outlets, jump to more lucrative careers on Substack and so forth. Millions of others simply avoid social media or keep it strictly to sharing videos of crazy cats or laughing babies.
For the record, that's what it's there for. That's the actual useful purpose of social media.
Vaccines are a new weapon in the civil war because they can be used to reach anyone and everyone. Mandates are not a perfect weapon because of some rational free thinkers who've gotten the stab after due consideration of their individual situations, while some sheeple consider doctors their alphas and follow individualized medical advice not to get the Fauci ouchie. In parentheses, no weapon kills all of the enemy or prevents all collateral damage, so those instances do not mitigate against vaccine weaponization. On parentheses.
By the way, Southwest Pilots Union is suing to block their airline's vaccination mandate.
Nice.
Yeah. I suspected, as soon as these mandates started coming down the pike, that there would be a large number of lawsuits on the way, a tsunami of lawsuits, if you will. It hasn't happened yet, but I suspect it's going to. I suspect that it's going to take a couple of large organizations gathering together, whether they're unions, whether they're, I don't even know, man, maybe religions could somehow get together, something is, to really make a big stink about it.
Yeah, ultimately, I don't think that that any salvation will be found in the courts, but that is inevitably what people are going to try. Ultimately, I think people are just going to have to make a stand and not obey. Well, that's what it's going to take.
My question is, how do you know it hasn't happened? I mean, it's not like they would report it.
That's true.
I mean, we were the only ones reporting the lawsuits that happened here over the lockdown.
The COVID vaccine mandates are about sorting sheeple from people and not about public health. That's made clear by several facts. First, if public health were paramount, the mandate would be to test regularly for effective immunity, not shot compliance. Some people do not need a vaccine because they've already survived COVID and have natural immunity, which is far superior to that provided even by the most effective vaccine.
Officially over a dozen times more powerful.
In addition, vaccines are not equally effective for everyone. Health officials, therefore, should be testing frontline healthcare workers for immune response levels, not vaccine compliance. Second, the mandates apply to remote workers and others who present zero danger to the public. If a COVID-19 survivors NGO has 100 or more employees, they all have to get vaccinated, even if surviving the disease is a prerequisite for employment, and even though scientists have warned that taking the vaccine probably does not help and may even hurt those with natural immunity.
This is an interesting story. Will you post that over on our social media, Captain?
Yes.
People can follow the Captain and Free Talk Live and some other hosts as well over at social.freetalklive.com. We post our show prep there. And check us out. And Captain will return tomorrow for the live Sunday edition.
Join me
of Free Talk Live. You have a great weekend.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And for the second week running, the US stepped back from the brink. Last week it was the government shutdown. This week it temporarily resolved a dispute over the national